So I'm trying to really cut down my swearing. I know it sounds it's
really
a
good fucking luck with that.
Right. And I wanted to do this a couple weeks ago, and then I had this recent podcast with a comedian, Corey Brennan, and I'm editing it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is horrific. I mean, because we were really getting passionate on some subjects and having a lot of fun, but I was like, man, I was like a sailor, bashful. I mean, what the hell's wrong with me? So I'm going to try to go through this entire show without dropping an F-bomb.
But you
which
failed
does suck.
already.
Who's taking odds?
Which does suck, though.
Who's taking odds?
Yeah, I know. But it does suck because...
Does this apply to all of us?
No. Oh, most definitely. I can't have him on the podcast and have that happen.
I already dropped one.
It's too late.
I made sure I got one in there right away just in case he tried to make a rule.
So Fred used to have a tip jar. Not like a tip jar, but it was a swear jar. Did you ever see that in his early shows? Yeah. I never got that money, Fred. By the way. Well, he actually, believe it or not, him and Willie G came on, and they both put about $28 in there, so they gave it to...
For some reason, when you said Willie G, I thought of Kenny G.
Kenny G.
It's Kenny's younger brother.
I don't think I would sit down with Kenny. Nothing personal, but...
He plays the kazoo.
So, he plays the kazoo.
Yeah. Little Willie.
Little Willie, yeah.
Call him.
You don't know Little Willie who plays the kazoo? No?
Yes.
Record time.
I know.
Yes.
I know.
And we're off to the races.
Yes.
So I'm going to try my best to not swear today. It's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing for me.
And speaking of Fred, we have Fritos
In his
in honor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know.
Because we love gang crumbs all over the studio.
Well, so
In his honor.
Yeah, I sent a picture to these guys earlier this week because I got Fritos in a swag bag at work, and I feel like I'm eating more Fritos this week than I've eaten in the past.
I know.
6 years probably.
I can't remember the last time I had a Frito.
I mean they're better than you're gonna remember, I bet.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised.
Yeah, those ones are good too.
These
the
aren't
twist.
bad.
Yeah, that was.
Would you like to try one?
I never
They have
want
barbecue.
them
They're
until I
barbecue
have
twist.
them.
They're good.
I'm going to wait.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saving up for the Oreos too.
Yeah. Salty and sweet.
Mm-hmm.
I never want Fritos until I have them, and then I'm like, these are so good.
Yeah,
Why
what
do I
was that?
sleep on these all the time?
What were those things that, they're cone-shaped? Bugles.
Oh God,
Yeah,
they're
did
so
you
good.
Put them on
like
your
those
fingers.
things?
I think I just like playing with them.
Yeah,
Have them on all my fingers like Freddy Krueger.
There isn't anything super jump out at you fantastic about the taste, but they are good once you get going on them. Just they're real buttery kind of, you know what I mean?
I haven't had them so long I can't remember what they taste
They're
like.
snackable.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Taste like
snackable.
drywall.
No, wait, is this supposed to... Okay, never mind. Sorry, yours is red too.
What?
Never mind. I shouldn't even look at the technology in here because I thought my camera went off. No, it's fine.
No.
That light definitely went off.
Oh,
You got screwed on your little
Don't
lights.
talk about the lights.
Which
Eric's
one
gonna get
went
pissed.
The one in front of the
No,
face.
we were kidding.
Yeah. I'm trying to charge that thing right now. Yeah, I got some technical issues in here with some products I bought. I want to see the manager, please.
Somebody's
We
got
didn't
a
do the
skating.
pregame either, so this is going to be off to probably a little bit
Yeah.
of a rocky start.
The name of the company is Small Rig, and they
Raw.
suck.
Raw dog in the episode.
I like it. Yeah.
So moving right along.
A lot of sexual chemistry on this side of the table. Or I guess this end of the table.
Y'all are very observant about generally things. Do you see anything different on this table? If you picked up,
I
it'll
feel
be
like that purple light's new.
yeah. There's one's down by you.
Oh, there's more.
But,
Okay,
but there's
cool.
something else that's been reconfigured on the table. I mean, if you get it, I'll be stunned. But something has been reconfigured.
Reconfigured.
Yeah.
Are the lights different? Did you move the...
I don't know. There's 5 fingers on the hand, so I give up.
Yeah, the broken ones in there. The 4.5 nub over there is in there. So we've always had green and blue in front, and we moved a red to the front for a little weird kind of contrast.
Okay.
You know?
And that's perfect because it matches Cassidy's hair.
There
Yeah,
you go. See,
yeah.
I just knew that was how it was going to be.
I like it. Yep.
Why do you always get effed at the drive-thru?
You even said effed.
I'm not going to be swearing.
He's serious.
I'm super ethereal.
They fuck you at the drive-thru.
Oh.
Not literally.
You can't do Joe Pesci and not say
No.
it.
And I'm probably the most Italian person here.
Why do they do that? Though? I'm gonna fix this lighting. There's too much lighting here.
Because they know you're going to be miles away by the time you find out you get fucked.
Yes. You need the full bit.
Why do they do that?
I don't know. You know, it's funny because I feel like in the past year I've been to more drive-thrus than I had been in the past 5 or 6 years. And I don't know if it's just because I finally was like, you know what? I don't care.
I remember I worked at Long John Silver's and they had it was like a damn shot clock.
A what?
It was like a ticking. You were supposed to have.
For the amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
No,
supposed to
we
have
had that
it
at KFC
out.
too.
Well, there you go. That's why everyone's getting fucked at the drive-thru.
Yeah, because everyone's under so much
you're like
pressure.
7, 6, 5. All right, just whatever it is.
Give him a sandwich.
Yeah, you just grab something, throw it in there. At the buzzer. Lady gets hit with the muffin, and she's on her way.
But isn't it like a thing? I mean, I expect to have my ass handed to me every time I would dare go through a drive-thru. Even if I'm getting a Diet Coke, and I say, "Can I have a large Diet Coke with light ice, please?" You'll get this pause.
Not dark ice. Light ice.
Yeah.
And not extra ice. Is
No,
what you
light
mean.
ice.
Just a little bit of ice.
Yeah, because
don't want it all watered
I'm
down.
always getting effed at the drive-thru,
Yeah.
and they always put all this ice in, and there's no drink in there.
Yeah.
But you get the pause. What did you say? I said, "Can I have a large Diet Coke, please, with light ice?" And pause. And they'll say, depending on where I'm at, they'll say 109 or 112 or whatever they are, or 275, depends on if it's Burger King. I'm not gonna swear. Yeah, but it's never right on a flippin' soda.
Maybe you should spell it out. Be like,
Yeah.
I'd like a Diet Coke with just a little bit of ice, please.
Exactly 7.5 cubes of ice.
Have you
count
seen
them.
some of the folks that have been working drive-thrus since the pandemic?
Be like, you're gonna count them out in
you want me
front
to
of me.
give
You're gonna bring them over
You want me to
me.
put numbers into the equation?
You're gonna bring them
Leave the
over to
lid
me
off.
in a separate cup. Here's what we're doing here.
No ice in one
Is
cup.
there a
7
bartender?
cubes in the
Is there a bartender that works there? You're gonna sit there and count them out for me, and I'm gonna watch you put them in there.
No.
Yeah. You know what? It's been, I was about to say too, it's been
It's pretty good.
everybody's so short-staffed in those type of jobs. You go through, because I go through drive-thrus. I mean, this has been years for me. I love fast
She eats
food.
McRibs,
you
that's all I'm
know?
gonna say.
Yeah, and I get off work late, and that's a lot of time where I go. But there'd be one child, kid, running the whole damn thing, and I always feel so bad for them because it's you'll have, especially at the one McDonald's in Canonsburg has the 2-line thing. I guess they all do. Now,
I'm
right?
familiar with it.
Yeah, and there'll be one poor girl. The lights are off everywhere else. It's just her running around making the shit and taking all the
And
orders.
doesn't that make you feel
and-
not just bad for them, but doesn't that give you a feeling ooh, this is not good?
Well, and then
one person's making and handling the window.
and she could have been hey, everybody called off tonight. I should call off too, and they could close down. But she's there and she's doing it, and then there's
You're
always
grateful.
and there's always somebody honking their horn in line,
Oh, really?
beeping
So I've never gotten that.
yeah, everybody. I'm you're
You gotta
sitting
go to
in your
Cannonsburg.
car.
I gotta go to
You're
Cannonsburg.
sitting in your car waiting for wrapped up food. Calm the hell down. Let this girl do her job. Jeez.
Do you know it's
It's not that
fascinating though, and
serious.
it's kind of sad. This is my new thing. Rocco Coes and I do this radio show on Saturday, so our ritual is we'll go through a Wendy's drive-thru before the show. Either get a diet soda or iced tea or something to get some caffeine in us, right? So we'll go through, and I'm be careful how I say this. Generally, the folks working the window there probably don't want to be there, and we are in Beaver Falls, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
You probably shouldn't have said where you were.
I don't care. Beaver Falls, Wendy's, okay. But we
you're
drive.
fucked now.
We drive.
They're waiting for you.
I can always edit this.
Don't
out,
go
right?
there again.
Yeah, right.
Mix
No,
it
no.
up next week.
No. I was gonna be complimentary. The thing we do is be overly super, over the top, happy, excited, and positive, and give all these, which we should be doing anyways, but really being overly nice.
Maybe
Not
they
to be mean, to be really and just see what kind of response you get, because the assumption would be they're probably not getting that from most people driving through the drive-thru.
I was gonna say when you were talking about ordering Coke with light ice, please. I was like, I really commend you for at least being polite, because
but who wouldn't though, right?
A lot of people. A lot of people. They like yell into the speaker. Well, I just think they feel like it's not necessary, like the transaction, the interaction that they're
like
having.
There's not a human on the other side.
They feel like it's just like
I
information.
yell at the box and it gives me my food.
And
Give me my food, you stupid box.
And then.
Well, I mean, now
like,
I feel like we were talking about the digital
Stupid
world
burger box.
before, like last time, and like I definitely think that there are plenty of people just doing their orders online, and so like when they do have to actually like speak to somebody, I feel like it is viewed as a huge inconvenience. You know,
and they're just like, give me a whatever, and manners have kind of been lost altogether. That's still kind of important.
You
to me.
don't say.
Yeah, and I like it when somebody, because a lot of people, and I was taught at a very young age, since I have this wonderful monotone voice and a resting bitch face, that
Wait, whoa, we're gonna explore this. You have a resting bitch face.
used to. I've learned that I had one.
How did you get rid of a resting bitch? I thought that was just part of who you were. I'm confused.
Once you're aware,
I'm so confused right now.
Classes you
okay.
take.
So that's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at. So
She got mandated to classes.
my father also has very, very deep monotone voice.
Does he also look kind of angry?
Yes, he's always looked a little scary. Meanwhile, he's the nicest guy in the world, and he's also kind of quiet. So he comes off like, so he's learned, and he's kind of taught me and my brother, who also is, he's 6'4", has a deep voice, kind of a bigger guy, like that you have to kind of go above and beyond, because if you're not self-aware of how you sound or come off to people, and I never was. I was just like, hey, I'm being friendly. Why does everybody think I'm so mean? But you almost have to go, like you said about you and Rocco, you have to go above and beyond, because especially through that speaker, you just sound like you're like, hey, like people are yelling. They think that you can't, they think that there's not a microphone there or something. So they're just yelling their order at the box. And
Stupid
so
burger box.
I think it sounds, and
Give me my flipping burger.
and once again, like you said about Long John's, like these, a lot of times children that work there, they're going through these like motions over and over and over
You
again.
get, the more people fear.
She makes it sound like a sweatshop in India. Like there's a little 5-year-old back there, like crammed into a tiny box.
I'm so old. I'm calling 35-years children.
There is no microphone. There's a 5-year-old in the box.
You know,
He crawls back there and tells them what you.
The person standing in the window is actually standing on a box.
Have you seen some of these folks?
but they are going through the motions because
Puberty.
it is assembly line type.
In 5 years.
Burger King
It's
sweatshop.
assembly line type shit.
It should
So
be.
they're also kind of sounding, and people get like annoyed if they're like, people are going through the drive-thru and ordering stuff, and they kind of get annoyed when people sound not friendly. Like, you want anything else with that? But they're saying it 1,000 times a day.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to let that go too.
Yeah, you gotta give them space, yeah.
So
This little exercise we've been doing, we first kind of did it, not to be snarky, but like, what if we just be overly positive and happy? So every week we would do it, like, and he'd yell out from the passenger side, and I'd yell out, and
Like, what kind of things do you say?
well, usually it's like, hey, how you doing today? And they're like, pause, nothing.
they're like, it's a trick.
No response from the box. Burger
Hello.
Burger box is not amused.
And it's crazy though. But here's what's happened. Because this particular location has the drive-through window where the person's taking the order is visually like straight on from where you're like, they can see you.
So funny.
So finally, I decided, I'm not talking to this box. I'm gonna look right in the glass and go, "Hey, how you doing?" That's when Rocco thought I was being a little bit excessive, but ultimately,
tone it down.
But my point is, through doing this multiple weeks, we get unbelievably good service now. Like we've made like two like friends-eyes people, and the commentary was like, it really, we're laughing about it, but it's like, it really doesn't take much to change the entire complexion of the.
They feel
of the
comfortable with
interaction.
you.
You know,
They
like the
feel
entire-
comfortable with you
right.
now.
Yeah, I'm not gonna like throw things at them. I'm not gonna like toss my drink back on them if they give me the wrong change or something. It's just, I don't know, but generally, I'm predisposed to feel like I'm going to get screwed at the drive-thru. I've always been this way.
There's evidence to support that.
Nothing was more frustrating to be like when I was a teenager, a long time ago, in the 80s. We would randomly go to like Burger King or McDonald's, and it was the same kind of process, but we were just young and stupid. We would get this big bag of food for like 3 or 4 of us and not check it. And then we drive all the way back to Coriopolis, go down in the game room of someone's house, get ready to eat it, and open it up, and it would be wrong. Now, why couldn't we check that while we were in the parking lot up there? I have no freaking idea.
You can't do that.
That was just too much work. But invariably, there was always something wrong. Always.
See, we've been pretty lucky at the drive-thru because I feel like our most common thing to get at the drive-thru is just blizzards at Dairy Queen. So like it's a pretty, and we get the same kind of blizzard, just 2 different sizes. So it's a pretty standard order.
Wait, who gets the bigger one?
He does.
Jer. You get the bigger one. What kind of blizzards do you get?
Mint Oreo.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right.
Like, I try different ones. Like, I used to always, mix it up a little bit, and then I was always disappointed. No matter how good my Blizzard was, I wanted it to be Mint Oreo, and you can't mix Mint Oreo with anything else. So it's not like I could get one and be like, hey, give me some of yours, because you can't go
because you ain't getting none of my fucking bits.
That's why he gets the bigger one.
That's the one thing he won't share with me. Like, he always over orders when we go out to eat. So like his dad totally caught me with one time, because he's like, you order this like healthy salad, and then I see you eat like half of his food. I'm like, I'm helping him. He orders too much stuff. I should get some of it.
A little scheme going on there, didn't you?
Yeah.
You balance each other out,
It's
and
true.
it just works.
But do you think overall we are predisposed to expect bad service now in the year 2022? Do you? Not just there, anywhere. Do you expect things to not be cordial or friendly, or meeting someone in a commercial capacity that not your field's different because there's a relationship there? But I'm talking about just typical retail, food or clothing or hardware or implements or whatever it is. Do you expect not to get good service?
It honestly does depend. I think there's a pretty good correlation between how much you're spending at the establishment. You know what I mean? If you're going to a really cheap little, I don't know, sometimes people surprise you, but generally, like, you go to a nice restaurant and people go out of their way. Very rarely do you go to, like, an upscale, like, pricier restaurant and get a server that's just
Rarely
giving you attitude, because they won't last there. You know what I mean? Like, that's part of the experience. It's a dining experience.
Well, we don't all go to fancy restaurants every week.
I haven't been to one for a hot minute myself. But
No, we did.
I remember.
We went to one recently.
Where did we go?
Grand Concourse.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that wasn't too long ago.
Yeah.
Because I posted about it. We can't say we haven't.
There's
people are like, those Mulligans, they just lie.
They're a
They-
goddamn liar.
They go on that freaking show and they just lie and they lie.
They have short memories.
That's not wrong. But
We were celebrating.
yes. But I will say that I don't expect the quality of food to be not as good, but I am actually much more forgiving to a point. The last time we left, it was one of the podcasts, and we left here, and it was like the end of the night, and we didn't want to cook, and we were getting takeout, and like literally, like we tried to order one thing, and they were like, "Yeah, we're out of that." We tried to order something else. They were like, "We're out of that," and then, like it was like the third thing, and they told me they were out of it, and I was like, "Okay, tell me what you have left."
Yeah, it'll be quicker to just list the things you do have.
And then we went, and I'll just say it was Bravo's, and we got like spaghetti, which I have my own sauce cooking at home. I would much rather make my own, but it was late, and we just wanted something like that we knew was going to be good for takeout, and like
Pasta Bravo.
yeah, and it's not bad. I mean, it's okay, it's whatever. But so we get our spaghetti and meatballs, and it's like they barely put any sauce on it. They just like drizzled a teeny bit of little sauce. Like
They had like this real tall Tupperware thing.
stuffed.
Like it was
with
real
pasta.
tall. So they just like ran a fucking spoon like right across the top. I swear to you, I had like
You're 100% right.
3 bites with fucking sauce, and then it's
like-
just
and it was
it's
like
just noodles.
packed.
Like it's not even buttered. I mean, this shit's dry. I'm gonna fucking choke to death.
Let's call them out, because let's call them
I
out.
just did.
No. Then we're
never
gonna.
going
I'll get
there
on the
again.
phone with them right now and be like, look, we don't normally do this. This isn't a call-in show. we kind of want an explanation. Have you ever just sat there and eaten half a pound of fucking straight up spaghetti with nothing on it? Nothing. No butter. No fucking marinara. No nothing.
So how about this? They used to have chicken meatballs there, which was kind of like my thing. I really liked them. Not because I wasn't afraid to eat beef. I just thought they were tasty.
Just something different.
So I'd order a side of those, and I get usually a chicken Caesar salad or whatever. Just like a little side of meatballs and sauce. And I tell them every time the following thing. Extra sauce, no cheese. And they'll look at you like, you don't want cheese. Extra sauce, please, and no cheese. And so not even like grated cheese. Extra sauce, no cheese, please. Every time I have done this, well, generally they'll get it right in regards to the cheese. Generally, after you have a few bad experiences, you vehemently tell them no cheese.
Vehemently.
But without a doubt, I also say, can they please be hot this time? Please. Can the meatballs be brought to me hot so I can see steam coming off of them? Oh, yeah, we'll take care of that. Even sometimes the server will say, and we sit in the bar oftentimes, so we kind of see the same servers, generally.
So this happens a lot.
It happens a lot. And like morons, we keep going back there.
I was about to say, that is the one thing I expect. You can bring me a plate of dirt, but if it's hot.
Okay, so I actually record videos when I go in there, like at the table. I look at my wife and go, "So we're going to record this. This is like the 12th try to get hot meatballs here," and they will come out, and they will be like lukewarm. Doesn't even do it. Sometimes they're on the borderline of cold, and I actually finally, out of frustration, after like the 10th time this has happened, I said, "Can I?" You
kept going back.
Well, the food's pretty tasty.
No, I like Bravos.
But it's kind of game now, right? So finally I said, listen, I don't care. I said, I don't care if you have to take these meatballs and put them in a microwave oven back there, nuke this shit out of them, fry them.
Like I did to you earlier today.
Yeah, suck all the moisture out of them, bring me some dried meatballs, right? We don't have microwaves. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, we put things in an oven for a certain time, and once that time is there, we pull it out. We don't leave things in. We're just not trained to leave things in over. I said, well, I've asked 8 or 9 times to please make sure the meatballs are hot. Well, in Italy, they serve their meat in a warm fashion.
No, they don't.
I'm
That's
like,
a lie.
will you please bring me what I asked for?
No, they're lying to you, Eric. I've been to Italy. That's not true.
Unbelievable, man. They cannot get this stupid thing right.
No.
Then I started effing with them. I said, can I please have some, order 3 meatballs, extra sauce, no cheese, and jalapenos. And then they hear that. They're like, who puts jalapenos on an Italian dish?
That's real Italian, yeah.
And I'm like, jalapenos, please. And they look at me. And I got to go through this whole back and forth for 2 or 3 times. And
so then they remember you.
But they don't.
No.
They pretend they do, but they don't remember the exchange because every time I get these meatballs, they're not even remotely hot. It's not even warm. It's like you know when something. Do you know when something?
Feel the frustration.
Do you know when something is room temperature? Sometimes it loses its taste, most of its taste.
Yeah.
Especially like a meat and a sauce. If you were to eat spaghetti, not cold and not hot, but at room temperature. Just let's say it was sitting out for like an hour and it's completely room temperature. A lot of the flavor is gone. It's the heat or the cold that accentuates the flavor.
You were talking earlier.
What the hell?
You're like, it's like a game to me now.
It is a game.
I think it's a game to them
game.
too. They see you coming in there like, hey, that guy's here. Put all the meatballs up. Get like
put them in the freezer.
9 or 10. I don't know how many he's gonna order.
There's some
9 or 10 of them
in there.
Set them out back.
Whatever. Yeah. Pretty much.
But 15 minutes from now, when you order, it's going to be nice and. What was that? Hot meat, ambient temperature.
I just
ambient
don't
room
understand.
temperature.
Like I have been for at least 2015, 14ish, maybe since I became a realtor. I've just expected to have bad service, like because I'm out so much being a realtor, day in day out, popping in here and there, and I started to really experience like just bad, unacceptable levels of service. And you just kind of expect it. And then sometimes I have to go back in my car and go, no, I have to kiss ass all day long. Like I got because if I treated my clients anywhere near the kind of bullshit I was getting back, I wouldn't have any clients. And I know you probably feel the same way.
Yeah.
So after you're kissing butt all day, and all you're asking a lady at the Home Depot to do is take my hammer, ring it up, and stick it in a bag. Not just hand me the hammer and expect me to leave. Ask me if I want a bag. Humor me. Humor me. Ask me if I want a bag. I mean, how hard could it be? Well,
Very much, apparently.
well, no, and this self-checkout thing. There's nothing more insulting to me. If I want to go in your establishment, literally, and spend money there, then you make me check out my own shit. Now, it started in my lexicon back in the late 80s when IKEA came to Pittsburgh. Because IKEA was big on that shit. Like, you had to kind of, when you go through the IKEA checkout line, I don't think there's bags there. You can get, I don't know how they do it, but I don't think there's big bags.
See, here's the thing, though. There's a flip side of this, though, because I'm going to jump in here because I agree with you that, like, whenever that first happened, I was kind of like, oh, they're taking people's jobs and all this stuff. But then, like,
well, I don't care about that. I'm not a capitalist. I don't care about that. I want the experience.
But so then sometimes the experience runs longer than what you want because the last time he and I went to the grocery store, this man, and like, bless his heart, he was very sweet. But it was like, he was working at the Giant Eagle because, like, he was retired and he was lonely. And, like, I'll talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Like,
of course.
I'm a very talkative person. But
you don't say.
That particular evening, like, I was kind of just ready to go home. And, like, so it was like, like, after, like, the third or fourth topic, I was kind of like, and I could tell he was, like, really taking his time with the bagging. He didn't want me to bag them. Like, I offered initially because I didn't realize how this was going to go. Like, I just thought I was helping.
He almost called his union boss out there. And damn near got us in a serious fucking problem.
I know. And, like, I could tell as soon as I had offered to do it, like, he was like, oh, I do know what I'm doing because he, like, did something differently than me. And I was like, okay. And I just like, I'm just going to roll with this. But then it was, like, a much longer exchange than I had.
So you like self-checkout.
Right. You know what, too?
It just depends on my mood.
He was a nice older guy.
He really was. Like,
and he did take forever.
He did. And, like, and we walked away. And then Jerry, like, said something very sweet about how grateful he was that, he had me and everything. Because this poor man, like, he lived by himself. He was older. But
you're just being a good human.
And I do like to have those experiences, but they're every now and then, I'm not in the mood.
With reason. Yeah.
And so sometimes I'm grateful that the self-checkout thing is there, especially if I have, like, a reasonable amount of groceries and I am in a hurry. Like, I want that option that if I don't want to interact, that I can do that.
Well, it's like Eric said, like, at my job, I talk to people all day. All day. And I hear a lot of negativity, and there's a lot of, and then my mind's going all the time, all that stuff. And you know what? It's funny because I just went to, what's that little place in Shadyside? Cafe Moulin. Super busy little place. Went there for breakfast, and there was a young girl who was our waitress. Jeans, t-shirt, midriff showing. And
oh boy.
I don't want to
belly button ring.
I don't remember, but I don't want to call.
I used to love that when I was young.
I don't want to call out.
So good.
I don't want to call
diamond stud or something.
Yeah,
back, huh?
That was good. That's my thing.
There's people that have a major problem with, like, the midriff showing thing, and I'm like, it's these young girls. It's not anything. It's a stomach. Calm down.
I feel like I just stopped doing that, and still, like, if it's summer, sometimes I still do it. Like,
it's not a big deal to me. I didn't even know. Whatever. She looked like a cute little 90s.
Yeah, whatever.
She had this little bowl cut. She was cute. But anyway, she was very polite. I wouldn't say she was overly nice, but she was busy, and she was very, like, go through the motions, And then, not to call out Patrick, but Patrick was in a lot of service, so he, like, he's got this, he's got this bar to hit.
Amen.
So we did talk about this because he's like, she didn't come back and check on us, and I always look for that. And I was like, you have to understand that people are so weird now, and people don't have any friends now, and people don't have any family now. So when the waitress comes back over to say, how is your food? They tell them their whole life story. Usually they pick apart whatever they're eating, even if it's good. I was like, it just isn't that anymore. She probably doesn't have time to come over and be like, how is your food?
Yeah, come to think
tell
of
me
it,
your life story.
I haven't had anybody ask me that in a long time.
Yeah, I think it's just not
Too much honesty coming back.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'm in
Probably.
healthcare and I work with food and, well, I mean, I don't work with food directly anymore, but I'm, clinical dietetics, and I still have to check on people about how they're eating, and I try and stick to the facts. But
Good luck.
like I will ask people, like, and sometimes even when I don't ask, they want to tell me all about it.
Yeah.
And food is something, man, I will.
Well, and I mean, even like
People will go on and on about that.
I had the opposite experience you guys did when I went to the grocery store the other day. I had Jonas, and he was a young boy, and he
You remembered
checked-
his name.
Yeah, Jonas. I was like, "That's your name,"
She said, yeah.
and like,
I get a feeling you didn't like this guy.
no, it was fine. He was young, very young.
He was a child.
I went late at night. He was a child. He was a children. So I went late at night. I always kind of go later to get my groceries.
He shouldn't have been out that late. Not a
No.
not a
Was it
child.
after 11? Doesn't he have a Cinderella license?
And he was sitting down playing on his phone when I brought my groceries up, and he got up, and he's not like high or anything. He's scanning my groceries, whatever. And yeah, he didn't say anything, but I was like, they are kids. Like, it's not like he was mean to me or it was a bad experience. It was just a transaction. It was very transactional, and I'm fine with that. The woman that came up behind me was trying to get Jonas to be
A little more personable.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Is that how you found out his name?
No, I just really
You're the
noticed this
observant.
kid.
You're very perceptive.
Yeah, and he's probably going to hear this because how many Jonases are cashiers at your local
At
dining
where?
room? Yeah, but and he was fine. I had no problem with Jonas. But the woman behind me, she came up and she was like, she was just pulling at teeth, and like this kid was just like, and we've, younger people too. Well, not just younger people, but like I think younger people in general, we've taught them to not be that trusting. So they might be polite. It doesn't mean that they should be kissing everybody's ass and stuff like that. They're kind of taught to be a little bit more guarded. So I don't take offense to that. And, I didn't
start
take
talking to each other.
Yeah, for sure. Right?
Yeah.
When's that going to start happening again?
But that's what I mean. People don't. So when they go out to eat and that little waitress who has a million other tables to do during the brunch rush, and she comes over and she said, "How's your food?" And then people think like she has no other tables to take care of, and they talk their ear off. Because I know there's people like that. You know how that is. They think they're your only client. Or
So
they
we got to
think
find balance is what we're saying.
We are saying that.
We
So
keep
the
talking
pun-
about
Yeah.
people with the checkout thing, and it just reminded me of my older brother Mike. Years and years ago, when he was a teenager, he worked at Giant Eagle.
Oh, no.
He bagged the groceries there. You're telling these stories, and I just keep laughing because it makes me
The
remember
eagle.
him saying, he's like, "Yeah, I learned early on." He's like, "You don't look up at anybody. You just," he's like, "You just ring up the groceries, you take the money, you give them their groceries." He's like, "I looked up at one guy one time." He's like, he looked at me like he wanted to fucking kill me. He's like, I never looked. He's like, 4 years, I never looked at anybody ever again working.
Oh, my God. See, I think it's always refreshing whenever, like, a younger person starts, like, I was at the grocery store near our house, and it was like, the child.
The children.
The child. He definitely was in high school.
A toddler.
Yeah. I mean, it's Giant Eagle, so it might have been a sweatshop situation. I don't know. But a young man, if you will, and like he just like was like, "How's your day going so far?" He's like, "What? You haven't? Or did you find everything you were looking?" And I'm just like, who are you? Like,
Yeah.
and I mean, I was okay with it, but at the
I
same
love
time,
that stuff.
I was really
Yeah.
surprised because it's like, for as young as this person was, he's making eye contact with
He
me.
was
He's
raised
like,
right.
He's like, and then he's like, "Okay, ma'am," and it's always funny to me that like I've like
Calling you
transcended
ma'am.
into the ma'am, age, and I'm like, and I'm okay with it because I'm like, you know what, it's fine. Like I feel like I'm respected out in
Yeah.
the world.
I got hit back by a couple women for saying "ma'am" over the years.
You know what?
I got hit back
I'm
pretty
okay
hard.
with it. I decide, like, I've accepted it. It's like, it's kind of like, I am older than most people working at the groceries. I mean, except for the people that are much older.
I think I also just think of like when I was that age, I I was painfully shy. I would have never had the confidence to like even ask somebody, how's your day going? Things like that. It was kind of like, just don't look up, don't talk to anybody, and nothing's going to happen. So I feel like sometimes we're hard on younger people, definitely, but service industry in general, just because I don't think you should have a terrible interaction with them. I don't think they should be downright rude. But if they're just not like going over the top, like...
But can't they smile at least?
It does get emotionally exhausting.
Smile goes a long way, though. Like I think the smile sends the management, I think, the right message that you're okay with people, and I think it sends the public in general. You're a decent human being.
Sometimes it sends an invite to a lot of conversation that you don't want to have.
I think it's different from a woman's perspective. At times.
True.
Because I've just heard horror stories like. I see memes, and it's like, the 17-year-old girl who's smiling at this guy because she's doing her job. And, like, I'm not going to get vulgar, but, like, some, however old, taking it as a sexual invitation.
Yeah. I mean,
now that I think about it, it was a pretty
you have, like, that's what I mean.
I'm not going to recount that meme.
You have to be careful. And I think we're teaching people to be more careful, so they're being less friendly. And I was telling Jay, I went to Nashville with my brother a couple weekends ago, and we just went, just the two of us. And my brother, I feel like, who's pretty good with stuff like that, he's still, he's 6'4", big guy, a little naive, overly friendly, you know what I mean? So he just didn't get it when he would be like, oh, this is only however many miles away we can walk. And I'd be like, where are we walking through? What are we doing? And I was like, and he also would talk to anybody, and he'd be like, what's the big deal? You're so antisocial. And I was like, you don't understand from my perspective, especially because I've traveled alone a lot and stuff like that. You don't have the luxury of being friendly sometimes.
Overtly friendly.
Yeah. And there were times where he would be like, it's not a big deal. We'll be together. And I'd be like, I'm not really worried about us getting, he would like kind of act like, oh, I'm not even taking my wallet when we go. And I'm like, I'm not really worried about us getting pickpocketed. I'm worried about us getting like shot, the two of us. But, sometimes it was easier to, I'm like, it might be easier to get stabbed than to argue with him. So I would go do some of the stuff he wanted to do. But it definitely, his mentality.
He finally just like, fuck it, I got medical.
Yeah.
What am I paying for this insurance for anyway?
Yeah. I just chose my battles, but there's definitely a different perspective. I'd love to be the friendliest person in the world. It's just that from my experience, it's worked out.
So society's
not
weirder now. It's weirder.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And it's...
The pandemic part of that? Everybody hold up for a little while, so now everybody's like people that haven't seen others are looking for interaction, whether it's a relationship or not, just like human interaction.
Yeah, I still have clients that, due to the pandemic, they still work from home, and maybe they didn't really have a lot of interaction with people before, not a lot of family and stuff, and I'm like the only person they talk to a lot. And I think if you're working in any service, you're gonna get that a lot. And so, like I said, it has to almost be, there has to be a happy medium, and I think we have to be okay with people kind of being a little more guarded and reserved, just because there's reasons for that.
Are we moving away from Did you get him? No. That little bastard, I know.
We're going to break every light bulb in here.
What's so nuts is like, the only reason this happens is because when I came in, I put new air fresheners in, and it was so overpowering. So I opened up the door.
Yeah.
I never did it before. We never had a bug in this place ever.
I know, it's just
now,
one fly.
This one fly.
He's part of it. He's part of it.
He's now part of the show.
He's like, see, this is my big chance.
This little bastard is not long.
Not long for this world.
No, he's about to get cut.
It's all Fred's fault. Fred was here earlier today. He was the one who helped me open the doors and air his place out when he was here.
It's always Fred's fault.
It's always Fred's fault.
I would always blame Fred.
Little fucker's about to get written off the show.
Tell you what, if he lands on my forehead, he is done. I'll give myself a headache getting rid of him. But I'm telling you.
Just headbutt him.
You'll have to edit that in like in slow motion. Just
I don't know. It's that food thing. A koala must have had some food when he came in today.
I mean, you're saying that, and meanwhile, like I've got like all this food.
Well,
I'm like, what do you mean?
you guys, this show has special dispensation. We're allowed to eat on this show. It's the only show that's permitted to do so.
We're the 4 non-blondes now. We're 4 non-blondes now.
I know.
So
Cass and I both used to be both
I'm on
blondes.
Everything because I haven't had any hair up there in a long time. But
that means you're not blonde.
I've never had
I'm
this
not
problem
anything.
before.
I'm follically challenged.
I'm having a hard time opening these.
I can tell.
Sorry, guys. I mean, I felt like it was a good point in the show since everyone's distracted anyway.
Yeah, but see, maybe because I'm older and I'm grumpier, maybe the lack of service bothers me more than it bothers y'all. But I think I've seen it like really erode. Like unfortunately, I go to Home Depot and Lowe's a lot. Not that I know any idea what I'm looking for or what to do with it when I buy it. But I still end up going there on errands and things for my electrician friend or whatever.
All right.
And invariably, you just know you're never going to get anybody there who's going to help. And if they do help, they don't know anything. They don't know where anything's at.
No, you need to find the older guy there.
Yeah.
I look for the oldest guy there.
Yeah.
Not too old. Me.
No, not too old. Not too old. Not too old because he doesn't know shit. Either that or
I've had them tell me I don't know shit.
Or that's what I mean. He's just retired.
I'm just here because I need something to do.
I know the one guy.
And I like talking to people.
No
shit.
I can spot the one guy in that place from all the time. Someone just looks at me. They're like, "I think it's over," and they just kind of trail off. You're like, you don't.
But that's what I mean.
You shouldn't be working here. You don't know anything about
I have to go to my phone.
I
go to the phone and I look up the item I want, and then I look. It tells me where it's at in the store. The phone tells me where it's at in the store, and that's how I go get the help I want. I'm going to the internet to find the location in the store that I'm standing in.
No. I won't do
it shouldn't be that way.
Half the time you can get service in those places anyway. It's like a damn warehouse.
But that's all changed. Believe me, man. I mean, when Home Depot came here in, 99, 98, something out in Robinson, it was 24 hours. They were open 24 hours. They would kiss your feet when you went in there. Yeah,
I would love to go there.
Who the fuck's buying drywall at 3 a.m.?
They must have.
They did that for a long.
They did that for a long time. They were open 24 hours for a long.
You never
time.
know because
you never know when you need the ball peen hammer.
Oh man!
My friend Paul was helping us with our door, and we went to Home Depot.
You guys had to go twice.
Yeah.
Everybody has to go twice for a project.
Yeah, you can't just go once. No.
We were just trying to buy this one piece of trim. It had a sticker on it and everything. And I don't know what the disconnect was. This guy, he didn't speak real good English. He was like an Asian dude. And he's just like, can you read me the number? And this is getting so cocked up. It's like 17000000. And he's like, no, 3 zeros. And he's like 30. And he's like, no. Let's start out. So he finally puts a number in. It's not popping up. My buddy Paul is kind of like, he's been working with us all day on getting this damn door and took way longer than he thought it would. He's finally like, the guy's like, well, will you go and take a picture of it?
Oh my God.
Paul's just standing there looking at him. I'll go. I can see Paul's reached his boiling point.
That Kim Jong-un. I went into Home Depot a couple years ago. This was one of my favorite social media posts. There was a dude at the checkout behind me, looked identical to Kim Jong-un.
No way.
Oh, really?
And I took a picture of my face, horrified, and him standing behind me buying fertilizer.
Fertilizer, that's perfect.
That poor guy.
Splitting image. Body mass, haircut, face.
Wow.
It was Kim Jong-un in a parallel universe. There's no question.
It's his doppelganger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all have it.
And I'm sure he's getting it.
That has to be intentional. You couldn't be unaware of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, he shows up in khaki fatigues. I'm really worried about it.
I'm going to get that fucker.
We have a nuisance fly. Might as well name him before he meets his death.
Don't name anything you intend to kill.
Why not?
I don't know. Just
We're men. We can handle it.
I can handle it. I just.
Excuse.
You want to make a tombstone? You want to make a little memorial for it?
Do you know what? I
was waiting. It took 3 seconds for you to utter that.
No, I came downstairs. It was like shortly after I had started this job. So for anyone that's been following the show for this entire time, I'm at a new hospital now. They want me to come in there way earlier. It's bullshit. But
She'll be fired tomorrow.
She's being honest about the job.
They know I'm over it already, and they all want me to come in even earlier. And I'm like, you guys
What?
are crazy. But anyway, so I am up at like 5:30. And I go down, and there's a spider in our fucking sink. Like, it was enormous. And these cats, like, are doing nothing to help me. He's upstairs sleeping, and I'm just like, it's up to me. Mm-hmm. And I swear I should have taken a picture of it. It was literally bigger. It was bigger than this Oreo, for sure. Bandwidth or whatever. And I literally when I first went in the bathroom, I yelped and jumped because it was and I'm not even that scared of bugs for the most part, but this one was serious.
You're
the
this
cat
one
goes
could
running.
cause some damage.
She couldn't help me. I'm like, okay.
Cat was like, nope.
Yeah, no, she was not even trying to be there. So I did take care of it. But yeah.
Where's Jerry?
Mm-hmm. Sleeping.
It's 5:30 in the goddamn morning.
In the goddamn morning.
Yeah, cats aren't going to help you.
No. They sit by the
Especially our
freaking
cats.
door and
Assholes.
Dude,
They-
our cats are mercenaries. They'd leave you dead in a ditch.
they would. They hunt for sport,
They're
not to
merciless.
protect you.
They're merciless.
Yeah. I looked the other day, the one was trying to climb up the screen. She gets her claw into the screen, and then I look, and on the other side of the screen is a stink bug, and she's got it hooked through the screen. And I'm just like,
Don't pop that
why
thing.
can't you help me like that in here?
I'm afraid of that.
Yeah, there's other things in here you need to be taking care of, and you're worried about what's out there that's not even going to be able to get in here. They're useless.
Mm-hmm.
They don't pull their weight.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all.
You think service is going away in general, in terms of automation?
No.
Do we have so much now DoorDash and takeout that we're limiting human interaction?
Yeah, but people have to man the DoorDash.
Oh,
Well,
doesn't Amazon have the little robots now to deliver and things? I mean, that's what's coming. Right?
I think somewhat because there's, even before COVID, there has been a labor shortage for a long time, and it's just going to keep getting worse. And, the job opportunities for somebody entering the workforce now are so different than, I don't know if I've brought this up before on the podcast, but the baby boomer era, when I was a kid, we were told since I was a kid that when the baby boomers retirement age, which is now, we were in trouble. And
For what?
for labor shortages.
Really?
And when you think about it, let's say my father, when he was graduating high school, he entered the military and was in the Marines and everything. But an 18-year-old now has options of, even if they don't go to college, or even if they do go to college, the options of the job that they could have are so much different than it used to be back then. You used to enter a family business, you entered into the mill that was in your town, things like that.
There was
now,
a path.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
paths.
And there's not a lot of the younger people to take these jobs because they're getting into tech. There's a lot more tech than there used to be. There's a lot more office work than there used to be because, like we said, everything's going a little bit more that way anyway. And then I know kids that they graduated and they're tattoo artists and they're this and that, things that your father may not have went into. So now my father's retired, and you know what I mean? So I think the labor shortage is not going to get much better. I think it'll probably keep getting worse. And so they're, especially in healthcare and things like that. So I feel like a lot of service is always going to be there. But at the same time, I think we're going more towards the hybrid thing, where when you go into China or Target, there are checkout lanes, but there's also self-checkout lanes. And if you go into certain restaurants now, you order on your phone and go pick up your food instead of...
Yeah, it's becoming a thing, right?
So
Yeah.
wait, before we move on from this, I just
nuts.
listened to a clip, and I don't remember what show it was on because I was like scrolling through my YouTube. I don't know if it was on. I feel like I don't know if it was on Rogan or not, but it was. Someone was talking about how men 18 to 65. This is like there is like the highest rate of unemployment for like working age men than there ever has been in the past. Mm-hmm. Like. And it's been headed in this direction for like the past since 1965. They were saying so like ever since like gradually like year after year after year. Look, you're getting Fritos everywhere.
It's my table, damn it.
But it's like and then they like did all these surveys, and it was like there was a certain percentage of them that were in school that were like, you know, kind of like pursuing some kind of, you know, so they were kind of like doing some sort of like a schedule or whatever. But they were like, well, you know, like, what are you doing with your time? And they're not like doing civil service or like community service. They're not like participating in like church.
How are they surviving is my question.
I don't know.
It's too easy to survive.
I'm not sure, but like basically it was kind of like they really didn't have like a schedule, and they said that it was more like the vast majority reported that they're like they spend more of their time like watching, essentially, whether it's watching stuff on, you know, the internet, whether it's like, you know, gaming, whether it's whatever, but it's like they've like we have like this like generation of men that are actually like more passive observers of
100%.
life than participating in life.
Right.
And it's like, you know, I mean, despite the, you know, disintegration of the family unit and all that other stuff, there's just like this like ongoing like almost like an epidemic of like men like kind of like disappearing from the workforce.
Well, and I'm also going to
100%.
bring up something that nobody talks about either, and this is not as to say anything bad about the baby boomer generation, but the baby boomer generation that are grandparents now are very different grandparents than their parents were. So childcare is completely different now. So there usually has to be a parent who somewhat works part-time, or you're just working to pay for daycare. So then if there's 2 full-time jobs within the family system, you know, it's just totally different that way. And so I think having a family now is a lot different than it used to be. I mean, my parents, when I was growing up, like before they got their real jobs, their big boy, big girl jobs that they retired from, my parents had 2 jobs. Like my dad bartended and they did 2 service jobs, but they couldn't have had us little kids doing that. My mom went to nursing school. She was doing that all the time and then working nights and stuff. And like we lived with my grandparents a lot of the time. We would like, you know,
Right.
It was that early morning, like get in the car, we're going to Graham and Pap's, and you're staying there for the day. And, you know, and on the weekends, my parents went out too. And we slept over. Graham and Pap were the shit. Like we loved going over there. But it's really not like that now. They say more than ever, baby boomers are, and they don't even want to watch their grandkids all the time like that. That's not what they strive for. Like our grandparents couldn't wait. They couldn't wait to retire and stay at home and watch us. And, you know, it's just not that way anymore either. So that's changing the labor force as well, is that childcare is completely different.
Yeah, it's definitely different. I had Ethan Merritt on, who is he's a videographer, does a lot of different things, but he just retired from the military officer. He opted to get out because of the administration issues, and being an officer isn't what he, you know, it's evolved into something over the last 8 years. It really, you know, wasn't advantageous, wasn't to his liking, but his conversation with me talked about the inability for the military to find any able young men, even for the most just regular enlist Army grunts, right? Just trying to find a regular enlisted person is extremely difficult. One of the things is they're getting hurt in the initial physical training, because certain bones and ligaments that have always been traditionally strong in men jumping off of a pull-up bar. They're getting hurt jumping off the pull-up bar because they have not developed, the strength in their tendons and their muscles like prior generations because they're sedentary. They don't use a lot of them are not, they're not athletic, and they're just having trouble finding suitable candidates both on the academic side and on the physical side. Like recruitment is a bitch now.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, and this is kind of like, I think, a little bit more of a commentary on, I don't know if it's like economics or whatever, but like, I feel like a lot of times, this is going to sound like, I don't want to make a generalization, but like,
that's all we do here.
Based on observation, I think a lot of times whenever sports are really encouraged and someone's, encouraged to be in different activities and all that kind of stuff, like their path might not be the military because they might not have to. You know what I mean? Like if they're
again, options are completely different.
And that's just it is. Like I feel like, I think even like it used to be that like, and this is the other thing this article was saying is that like the men that are, these men that aren't in the workforce, they like there's not even like a desire to have a family. Like they're not
exactly.
Like the things that were like motivating
right.
men to like, go out, get jobs, like,
there's no motivation to have a job.
Stuff. And then it's right. Like, so I think there was a large like group of people, probably mostly men, and I know, women can serve and everything too, but if they didn't have family resources, if they didn't have any other options, that was, an option that they could, if they wanted to have a family, and most people did. And right. Now I think, and it sucks because I think a lot of people look at like, the rate of divorce and all this stuff, and they're like, do I even really want to do that? Or people do get married and they don't want to have kids anyway.
Right. So they're not planning on securing money for future generations or taking care of a family or anything like that. So a lot of times it's
very... Well, where are all of these people? Because you hear all these stats, like you're absolutely right, the unemployment rate's so high, and then there's the part that can't be counted, I guess, statistically for whatever their metrics are. So there's a other swath of people that are unemployed, but they're not included in those statistics. They're just out there. But like, what are they surviving on if they're not working? Like, what are you doing? It's like I don't understand. A lot of
people don't leave home.
Is there endless benefits? Like, is there an endless government benefits? I don't know how all that works. And I'm asking questions. Like, at some point, I would imagine the gig would be up. You'd have to go do something.
Well, I mean, we have like the highest like homeless issue in the country than we probably have had ever. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of people that are homeless, and then when you have a lot of people that probably just never leave home, like their parents' home. You know what I mean?
And then you're saying parents that are okay with that, just like.
I think so. I mean, honestly, like I think because I do think there's this like kind of like contrast in generations where, there was a time that it was like a lot of parents were just like, yeah, they weren't helping their kids at all, and they were kicking them out. And then like that generation of people were like, well, I don't ever want my kids to have to experience that, and so I'm always going to be there for them.
Right.
Went the other direction too hard. Yeah,
I don't know.
Definitely.
And that's just, I mean, that's just an observation. And like,
no,
I live in a small corner of the world, so I can't speak.
No, I think you're spot on. I'm guilty. That. I'm guilty. I mean, my father made it very clear to me that it was college or work. And if it is college, you're still going to pay me so much stipend per month and all that stuff. And I was bitter. And I left before I was 18 and had to figure all that out. But I was pissed because I had to. I kind of felt pissed. So I was going to make sure that was never going to be a situation for my kids. So we just coddled these kids too much. Absolutely guilty.
Once again, it's a balance thing. It's like, and so hopefully with all that, we'll get there. It just might take another generation to. It might take a lot of crap to get to where we need to be.
We might have talked about this, but I'll throw that question out again right now. I mean, it could be a testy subject, but I'll say it. Is it too easy to just survive now? Is it too easy just to be in our society?
In what manner do you mean?
You mean financially?
Everything. You can survive. There's mechanisms in place, probably mostly government related, but also with a lot of charities and so forth, or infrastructure set up. You can just survive. If you really don't want to do anything at all constructive, he's going to get that fly. Did you get him?
Nope.
He's going to come back with a vengeance now. You can't find him. I'm just saying, to me, it just seems too easy to survive. Like it was like case in point, left my house in '83. Right, stupid thing to do, but I didn't want to play under those rules anymore. So, I had a studio apartment. I had a little car payment. I was eating out of canned food. Well, I didn't have to, but I chose to do that because I didn't want to take from anybody. Because I was stubborn and dumb. But I did that. But I wouldn't have been able to go get an apartment or even find a roommate and then have a car to drive and money for a telephone and all this stuff if I didn't have a job. Right? I couldn't start my life until I was gainfully employed. Like that was a priority. I needed to eat. I needed to survive. It wasn't about, buying a fancy pair of jeans or a fancy car or having a fancy apartment. It was just about, I got to start my life. I have to be gainfully employed. What I'm asking is if that's not the general mantra with some folks, how are they maneuvering? Like, are you saying there's just a big bunch of people living with their parents till they're 30 and not gainfully employed? I mean, is that happening? I don't know. But like, if that's the case, then it's way too easy in our society. The mechanisms aren't there to encourage employment.
Right.
I'm not saying it to be harsh. I'm just making an observation. Because it blows my mind that you can survive now, without doing anything. Where are these people? How are they managing? How's it working? It's obviously happening. People are leaving the job, like during COVID. Everybody's, not everybody. A lot of people leaving their job, finding themselves, looking at different career paths, maybe it was an awakening. Hey, I'm doing the wrong thing with my life. I want to try this. All good stuff. But now that we're past it, you hear all this stuff that all these folks have left the workforce. Where'd they go?Here are they?
I don't know.
I did hear one story.
Are they all in Florida on vacation? Where are they?
No, I heard like this. I heard a couple. I don't know if it was another podcast I was listening to, but it was like a couple that had worked like probably decent jobs. Like it sounded like they were both college educated, whatever. Basically, took out their retirements and then moved. You can go to different countries where the dollar's worth more.
Yeah, but that's such a small portion of the population.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like I personally know a ton of people that retired. Like it just pushed them into
early retirement.
That can be a great thing, though. I salute those folks. They've worked and earned it.
Oh yeah, definitely. But that's what I mean.
Like,
that's also the age group that we're trying to replace.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there's enough. There's still kids going to college for years and years and years and taking time off of college and then going back. Mm-hmm. And then, it used to be college or even entering the military guaranteed some sort of placement. And it doesn't always once you're out. And so I feel like also there's a lot more of this changing jobs thing. Like once again, the baby boomers, they stuck with a job through thick and thin through their lives and retired from it. And I feel like X, now people aren't sticking with.
Gen Xers did. The early Gen Xers, like my group, we kind of did that too.
Yeah. I feel like people were more likely to.
Well, I think it's gone the other way. I think it's kind of ridiculous now because the stories I hear is they work for like 3 weeks or a month or a year and they're gone. Right. I mean, it's almost a leapfrog thing. Now, if you are highly skilled, you have paper of some kind and you got great work history and you can strategically make that work for yourself, I salute you. But if you're just a person that's undisciplined and you just like every little shiny thing, it's probably not going to serve you well when you make 5 job changes in 5 years. It might not work.
They talk about the gig economy too. That's a big thing because like you can you can drive for Uber, you can drive for Lyft, you can DoorDash, you can do all that stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of people kind of just like making an income like almost like piecemeal. You know what I mean? People selling shit on eBay. Like I don't know. I mean I don't know what
all
people
sorts
are doing
of like
money.
Side gig type shit. Yeah,
you know what I mean? But
I said there's so many more options now.
Yes,
it's like
100%. But yet less people working.
Yeah, I guess.
Where are these people?
I also think that some of those numbers are very skewed because I think people are claiming to not be working when they are working. They're just not working.
They're working at a table. Mm-hmm. And that part of the economy, for as long as we have cash in our society, there'll always be that part of people working under the table. I get it. But
yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's kind of easy just to skate by now.
Well, and I think that
it's weird.
I think the one thing that my aunt used to always point out, because she was like a manager, she always said that like she would go to these seminars and they talked about how younger generations valued their alone time a lot more. They valued their free time a lot more. They were definitely a lot more, like they called them like the me generation or whatever. Yeah. And so there was like a little bit more of the mentality that like you go to a job for a paycheck, and then like, your life outside of work takes priority. And I think that like even that has changed in the sense that, I don't know, like I think there's just a lot more options, but it's weird because we've talked about this before too, is like, how technology's opened up all this other, this world to people, but in some ways it's narrowed our worlds in other ways. Mm-hmm. But I do feel like that has been kind of a consistent theme, is that people sort of value their freedom and their independence from work. And it's like, not everyone, and, I take for granted the fact that like, I had some help to go to school and everything. Like not everyone has that. And so a lot of people are just working a job so that they can, basically like get a paycheck, and then they might stick with that job for a little bit, go to another job just to, pay their bills and make ends meet. And then like, that's not really their focus. And so that like, there isn't really like any incentive or like desire to like stick with a company, because there's not like a passion there. You know what I mean? Like right. it's not like a choice that someone made necessarily. That's a good.
You heard passion. I think that's big. Like where did the passion for enterprise, career, where'd all that go?
Well, and
is it still out there?
Like we talked about this in the last show. Is it's like I think that there is this element of like everyone wanting to be an entrepreneur, and like some people aren't necessarily. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I don't think everyone's cut out for it.
No.
No. And so then it's like you've got like people kind of seeing all this stuff on social media of these people like who's a brand and who's this and who's that, and like who's got this like booming social security. That's the opposite. Social media account that's like, monetized and blah, 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 blah. And like everyone kind of wants that. Like everyone wants to be the next YouTube star or the next freaking, whatever.
I wanted to play baseball when I was a kid. And I wanted to be, and there's a lot of us who wanted to be a major league baseball. We all wanted stuff that was kind of out of our realm,
that's just
right?
It, is that like now I feel like with the internet and
they think it's possible.
Well, I think that in some ways it is more possible.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? But at the same time.
But still unlikely.
And still unlikely and still very difficult, and sometimes it's still super random. Like there might be some freaking kid that's like got like this crazy YouTube channel because all he does is open presents on YouTube, and he's you know what I mean? Well, that's what I mean. Like
there's a lot of money in
$1 million a year off this kid opening.
Yes,
toys.
and
that's what I mean. And like I feel like that's just kind of random. You know what I mean? I'm not
but
saying.
But how do you balance that to a kid? Like you're all absolutely right, and there's more of that random stuff than probably generations prior. But
a lot of kids watch fucking YouTube, so I can't tell you, my nephews, both of them, other kids, I remember hearing them say, "Well, I'm going to be a YouTube star someday," and it's like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's a tough thing because you don't want to. I was always told don't step on your kid's dream. My kid wanted to be a major league baseball player. I mean, if he was left-handed, he'd already be in the majors, but he was right-handed, and there's a lot of competition. Probably not going to happen, kid. Don't want to squash your dreams. Don't want to crush you. But I'll make sure that you have other ideas about where you want to go when you're done. But that's like what I think most parents have done over generations. Yeah. Not to squash the dreams, but I would say if you're having a child right now, putting them on a path to be a YouTube star, unless you're the Kardashians, is probably not a good career plan.
Well, and I think too, in general, a lot of the younger people too, they're okay with, they're very minimalistic. They're okay. Yeah, I think they're okay with making, $60,000. They just don't care about making more. A lot of them are like that. They're just kind of like.
Because commercialism seems higher than ever on social media. It's all about the Fendi this, and it seems to me that it's pretty brand specific out there.
And I also feel like too, and this was my experience, I think that's what you were saying was your experience, because I moved out a little younger, and I I was like excited to get out of my parents' house and make money and make my own money, and I was like, I'll sit on milk crates until I can afford stuff. And I would have rather, I wanted to be an adult, an independent, where I think like most kids are like, I don't care, whatever.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, the philosophy was different.
The other thing is what you see a lot of on social media is the influencers who are looking for sponsorship, you know what I mean? And they pick up products, and so the whole thing kind of gets geared towards like, you know what I mean? But commercialism and the exposure of, because everything with social media is pay to play now, you know what I mean? As far as
you don't think there's a huge push though for let's say 20-ish to like 30, 33-ish, huge push on name brand, especially when it comes to like clothing
in
stuff.
The culture, but that's the thing though. Like a lot of times you'll have some people who they got to have really nice sneaks and nice clothes and stuff like that, but maybe they just live in a one-room apartment. You know what I mean?
And they might have a couple pair of sneaks and that's it. It's not the I have a million pair of shoes thing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just interesting to look in from the outside to just try to find out where are these people. Unless the statistics were all wrong, unless what we're hearing in the media, there aren't all these out of work folks that have just kind of dropped out of society.
No, I think there is, because I mean, I can't tell you how many businesses people I've talked to. We can't get servers. We can't. We can't even open this day. It's getting better, but also in my field, I remember there was a huge problem with finding inspectors, and I'm talking the kind of inspectors who work in nuclear facilities, like $40, $50 an hour guys, and it's like, okay, if you were working, a minimum wage job and had to find a way to subsist, maybe moved in with a parent or roommated with somebody and picked up something under the table or whatever one of these options we were talking about, and that's not to demean the value of anybody's labor, but
of course,
if it's a minimum wage job, you know what I mean? I could see just kind of saying, well, hey, I've found a way to get by and maintain something close to my quality of life and my lifestyle, which I've been accustomed to. I just kept thinking, where the hell did these $40, $50 an hour guys, are they selling drugs? Like,
I know, like,
where are you making?
Their income
where did
from?
you go? Because it wasn't just us; it was like industry wide, and I'm just like, where the hell did you guys go? Where are you making this kind of money? Same thing you said. Where'd you go?
Yeah, that it seems to be interesting. Like there's this whole maybe it's the start of the new reality. Maybe they've jumped over to the other reality. We just don't know about it yet.
They're plugged in.
It's possible.
They're in the simulation.
They're in the simulation.
Very cheap to live in the simulation. I guess sometimes the juice is worth the squeeze.
And that's what will bring us back on.
Wow.
We break so much new ground on this show.
Yeah. That's why it's the leading series on your
It
podcast.
It is. Yeah. I was really impressed by how many people, when we took that break, how many people thought that you guys had quit on me, or like lots. Definitely plus 20. Way plus 20. Like,
just that we said.
That or that I quit doing them, or that I got pissed at somebody, or something didn't work out. I'm like, where would you?
People are paying attention though. That's a good thing.
The playthrough is nuts. It's nuts.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
I don't.
We should start some drama on here.
I know, like me and Cass gonna do a fight or something.
not over the implements here. Everything is good. Don't be picking up lamps and tossing them at each other.
That would be dangerous.
Oh man.
Yeah.
The fucking hands with the hands.
Yeah.
I think there's already a lot of rumors about us.
Yeah, right. You're not wrong.
Oh, do tell.
No, we're just kidding.
This is not fodder for the show.
Just kidding. We are all on this show clean as whistles.
I know.
We have no backstories.
I know.
No history. Nothing.
Yeah, I think it was
Feels
cool how
good.
the show started. I think like in terms of how we all got together.
What do you
Because
mean?
how it all started. I invited
Tell me
you
how it
to be a
started.
guest on the pod. You don't remember?
No, I know. I just want to hear it.
It is because it is a good story.
Because it revolves around me.
Yeah,
I'm such an egocentric
Dude.
person. I can't help it. I'm working on it. I'm working on it in therapy.
do we have the ability to trust anymore? Like, do we have a thing called public trust? Do we have the capacity to trust strangers? Because I can say that, in the 80s, as I grew into the formidable years, I think the default thing was you kind of took people for their word when you were engaging out in public. Whether it's a stranger, whether it's somebody, your neighbor, you kind of took them on their word. But with so much insanity with the way we can ingest media now, social media being the heavyweight, but other things, websites and the like, is our default mechanism to trust, or do we look at everything ultra skeptical and tend not to trust until it's proven to be true?
I mean, I feel like no. I feel like we don't trust. I know I don't. And it's from past experience of just usually if people are being overly friendly, when it's for a reason, I feel like.
Okay.
It's to gain something.
So your default mechanism is to not trust.
Yeah.
As you maneuver out there.
Yeah, I mean, especially because
you're skeptical.
Yeah, for sure. I think when you're in the general public, it's not like everybody owes anybody anything except for respect. So I feel like if it's definitely safer not to trust.
It's safer not to trust.
I think it's situational. Like I remember situations, like I remember it was raining cats and dogs. I was on Campbell's Run Road and I saw this lady with like a 4 or 5 year old kid running down the road. And I could tell her car broke down or something. I didn't think twice about stopping, and but then I think for me, it kind of depends on whether I observe a situation where somebody needs help. Because like that's when you said the whole trust thing, the only time I'm in a situation that I can readily think of off the top of my head where it's either trust a stranger or don't trust a stranger, it's like someone's got car trouble or somebody needs something, or you know what I mean? There's some kind of emergency situation. Otherwise, like, why are we talking? If I observe someone that needs help, I won't hesitate. If I'm approached, I'm a lot more skeptical.
Right. I agree. Yeah, you can't afford to. There's a lot of times where people are like, I don't know why people don't help each other more. And I'm like, we just can't, that's how.
The other thing is everybody has cell phones nowadays.
Yeah.
Call somebody who cares.
That's kind of, it's weird because like
call somebody who knows you and trusts you. Call somebody who,
Yeah, I've worked in the city for like a long time. And, like there's literally like, I walk a lot, not all the time, but I will walk to my car, at least like a couple times a week, a lot of times just to, get a little exercise or whatever. And before my old job, I always walked to my car, and like literally like if I get asked for money pretty much every day, you know what I mean? Like it's just, and like that's a whole different type of situation. But like even as like a woman, like I don't like to roll my window down. Not because I think that I don't actually, because in certain situations I have, you know what I mean? Like if someone stands, I would sign like once in a blue moon, I will. It just kind of depends on like if they strike me in a certain way. Like, and I can't really, there's not even any specific thing. But I'm definitely like, I kind of was taught early on, like, just sort of put blinders on, look straight ahead, and don't make eye contact with people. But in my job, you know what I mean? Like I have to go into patient rooms all the time, and like, and it is a vulnerable kind of situation, but they're more vulnerable than me. You know what I mean? And so even though like I have to talk to them, like I'm like in a situation where like I kind of have to interact with people all the time in like a very personal, thing. They're sick, they're more vulnerable than me. You know what I mean? But when I was a massage therapist, like those people aren't sick. And I think actually like my default is I am a lot more trusting. And I am obviously like more of a people person than a lot of people, probably than both of you. No, because I love you both and I know you both, but I feel like that's definitely, I'm probably more outgoing. Like I lean more on that, like, like side of things where I do tend to kind of just like talk to people randomly. People will open up to me randomly. Like I've always been that kind of person. However, like I've also had like, I remember when I was 14 and some freaking guy exposed himself to me when I was like walking behind the thing like going to like my grandma's house, literally like this is like you couldn't make this shit up, like this is like literally like walking to my grandmother's house and like don't tell me I didn't get made fun of for this. Like I legit
was about to say,
got made fun of.
We
for
were
this.
not good friends. Like she and I weren't dating yet. Every fucking day, hey Julie, where's Kmart at?
Because some fucking guy pulls up beside me, rolls down his window, and asks me where Kmart was, and I'm like, just 14 years old, walking to my grandmother's house, like, oh, it's right over, and then the guy's holding his, and I just like,
It was months.
oh my god,
Joel, hey, do you know where Kmart is?
assholes.
Well, yeah, we were.
But literally, like,
It's like it's dramatic. Like you look back on it, you're like, "That's awful that someone did that." And we were just like, "Oh shit, pile on this motherfucker."
and you know what? Sign of the times, because I will say, like back in the day, like at that time period, like you did have to kind of toughen up a little bit more. You know what I mean? Like whereas now, I feel like that person probably would have been thrown into therapy.
They'd have
right
a
away.
SWAT team scouring the neighborhood to find that guy.
And, maybe as it should be, because that shit's fucked up. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying it shouldn't happen.
But
that
and
way.
I do
That's the
remember, like
differences
in the
society.
moment, like it was literally like.
I'm sorry.
It is funny. I have to laugh at it, but in the moment, it was like. I'm like literally just not even thinking about anything and not considering the fact that like the guy had to drive past Kmart to get to where I was. Like, you know what I mean?
It's in the entrance of the plaza. There's no
like-
way he could have missed the store. You should have known right away.
I should have, but like literally.
You know what? That reminds me of that game.
I
when you
am
fucking-
trusting. Oh yeah, exactly.
He invented that
He
game.
did, that guy. Oh. And like, of course, like to this day, I still remember what it looked like. I still remember, like, you know what I mean? The whole fucking thing.
Yeah, that'll
But
get burned into your memory.
I will say that, like,
That's trauma.
but see, there's the thing though, is there are people that are a little bit more, like, I realized this last week because, like, I had to walk into someone's room and, you walk in, when you walk into a patient room, you could walk into anything. And I'm not going to go into details, but like, it was a very personal moment for the person, not like in like a, sexual way, but just, whatever. People are in bedpans all the time, but it's like, definitely wasn't fully covered. I kind of was already in there and half in the middle of my conversation, and like that happens, and sometimes you just have to keep talking. And what I used to do, because this used to happen a lot, is I would put my folder like right up here so I couldn't really see anything except for like the from the neck up.
You're like Wilson from Toll Time.
Yeah. But who knows? Maybe that event, when I was 14, like gave me like the fortitude,
The wherewithal.
to just be able to handle shit.
I am so sorry, Jules. I can't.
You should be part of a support group or something. You're all heart.
I know, right?
She should have been right there with us.
I know.
See, she gets it. She would have fit right in. We had no sympathy. You think, oh,
No.
that's so terrible.
I
No,
know.
we just fucked with her about it.
No, like, and that's just it. It's like,
Hardcore.
obviously, it wasn't terribly traumatic because I'm fine. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
yeah,
if he had
or else
if he had actually tried to assault me, like, but that's just it. It's
Oh,
like
sure.
you always wonder, like, what do people get out of that? But I know there are fucking sickos out there. That's
Yeah.
just what they want to do. And
Well,
like,
that was before Facebook when you could send
before
you could send unsolicited dick pics.
Yeah, exactly.
You had to see those were the
really-
old days where you had to gas up the car.
Come up
You
with a
had
good
to
question.
pick you out a spot. You had to go find a Kmart.
You had to put effort into your perversion.
Oh, I'm tired.
Well, you know what? And on the same vein, we were just talking about this.
I just had an image of a guy throwing Polaroids,
what did-
Polaroids
wait,
out the
wait.
fucking window.
What did you just say?
Inventing the dick pic.
What did I just say? I said,
Oh
On
my
the
god,
same
that reminded me
vein.
of something so fucked up. We were at the fucking
Eric.
bus stop and we found a purse, and inside
Eric.
the purse
that is just in very poor.
was a Polaroid. And we're like, it's a hot dog. It was not. I'm like, literally like 13, 14 years old, and we're looking at this Polaroid. All of us kids are just like, what? Literally, like mustard, relish. It gave me kind of a slanted perspective on like what I might be doing with my time later on in my life. Like when you're a kid, you're just like,
That's what grown-ups do.
yeah. Oh, okay. This is what you do when you get older.
Oh my god.
I haven't thought about
My
that in
stomach
years.
hurts. I remember you telling that story before.
Yeah.
Too. Wow.
Because remember, you're kids. So you're just like, why did they take a oh. Like, who would photograph a
And then you're a kid, so you can't stop talking about it. You tell anybody
oh,
who
shit,
listen.
yeah.
It's
I remember
so
that.
fun.
That was 30 fucking years ago. I still remember that.
He's still telling us.
Yeah. I haven't thought of that in years.
Speaking of random porn.
Speaking of hot dogs.
Yeah, speaking of hot dogs. No, when I was a kid, I remember going behind the school, and this is people must have like done this shit like this, just like sick people probably to do something like this. Because it never occurred to me. It was the freaking dumpster by my elementary school. And don't ask me why I looked in it, because I feel like when I was like a kid in the summer, like we would look for like, they would throw books away and like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes like you would find cool shit in there. So we were like,
yeah,
looking,
you do shit like that.
Dumpster diving.
yeah, exactly. You could dumpster diving, whatever. But so the one time we went there, and there was, I'm not kidding, I have no idea how much porn. So much porn. And I'm like, who dumps off a bunch of porn in an elementary school dumpster? And now I'm like, sick people. So anyway, what were you saying?
I don't remember. I'm just never going to get over this. Now, I was going to say, when you were saying...
In the same vein.
Yeah, in the same vein. Eric took it and ran with it. I was saying when you were...
said it.
We're like children.
He's talking about...
We're 12 years
talking
old.
about a penis with condiments on it.
Yo.
And you go, in the same vein.
This happened.
Yeah.
What I was...
It happened to me.
Holy shit.
I was
I just asked a question about trust.
Well, this
This is
no
why
one
we don't
trusts
trust, because everybody had these situations when they were younger. And I will say, like when you were saying about maybe that gave me the wherewithal to be a little tougher or whatever. I feel like I had parenting that was like, they didn't just tell me like, don't talk to strangers, stranger danger. They told me what happens to you if you get kidnapped, and
Like
that'll
in
keep you
detail?
from getting kidnapped. Yeah, it was
Oh,
detailed.
wow.
So it was always like all this, like Jeffrey Dahmer is such a big thing now because I knew all about Jeffrey Dahmer at a very young age.
Live that shit.
They told me all about it. This is why you don't go with somebody, even if they seem nice.
I'll get the point across.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, because I think if kids are obviously supposed to, they're very innocent. So
Plus,
you tell
kids
them,
don't listen.
No.
yeah, right. They're naive and dumb. But in the same vein, these children.
100%.
So if my parents wouldn't have told me that, I would have been like, well, this person's nice. I know they said this
And they
person.
have
is-
candy.
But isn't that tough though as a kid? Like,
yeah.
I struggled with you might. So
I was kind of a not happy, kind of dark kid anyway. And then, you're getting all this.
Maybe
like,
I want to go in the van.
And then too, it's like, and then I think I was taught to respect elders and help people and things like that. So growing up, I did have some bad experiences, and you're like, oh, that's what they mean. These people seem nice, but then you...
yeah, and it really
usually
screws a trust component up for a kid.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you said, usually if somebody's asking for help, I feel like something's kind of up. Like there's too many resources now. Like I don't answer my door because why are you knocking at my door? Why would you need to? If
Well,
you're not somebody who's
do you know what?
calling or
I did answer
texting
the
me.
door recently, and I bought some freaking book off some kid.
Kid was trying to sell me
Yeah,
fucking
why-
football cards
and
or
that's
baseball
another thing.
cards. He was like, "Do you want to
In
buy
the-
these?" I was like, "No."
In the other,
I was like, "If it was something I could eat."
Yeah, right.
and in
The book was
reverse,
about food. To be
why are
Pepperoni
we?
roll.
Why are we sending kids to people's doors too anymore? Like we used to be able to do that. I get it, but like, don't. I'm not sending my kid by himself to somebody's door.
Yeah.
You know,
but see, this
'cause-
is so sad to me that like we're having this conversation because I grew up in a more innocent age, which there still was bad stuff out there, but it wasn't as prevalent, I don't think.
Yeah, we were
And-
saying that too. Like trick or
and
treating,
now
we'd
we're
go in
so
people's
guarded.
houses
Oh my
and stuff,
gosh,
but
like-
like you can't do that anymore because I think those things did happen. It's just a lot of it wasn't talked about.
Yeah.
We'll put it that way. There's things that have really come out since we've gotten older that, once again, I was taught to like, adults were right, I was wrong. So if they did something to me that was wrong, you just kind of, I think a lot of times until we grow up, we don't realize certain things. So now we're trying to teach all these kids, we're just trying to prevent them from happening. And you really can't trust anybody because, I mean, even where you guys live, it's a nice neighborhood. I would still never send my kid door to door.
Yeah.
Never by themselves.
A lot of times the parents are out there waiting in the car.
Yeah, well, that's a parent's party, right? Don't the parents just drink like crazy the nights they walk their kids around? That's like a thing. That's
What do you
a
mean?
thing.
Even on Halloween or?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, no, not necessarily.
They're all walking around drinking.
Some of them will have shots for the parents. I feel like that's a thing now.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Yeah, like
It's a neighborhood party.
Not
Yeah.
necessarily trick-or-treating because there's a lot of people out. I meant
Yeah.
like selling something.
Oh, I
like
get
I
it.
would never send my kid around.
I get it. Like
Man,
door-to-door selling. Like
I'll
recently.
tell you
Yeah,
what, though, I
yeah.
do wish that they would send those kids out with the Girl Scout cookies because I always catch them at the
Can't
grocery
get your Thin Mints. huh?
right.
And you know what? I ordered some this year. Who did I order them off of? If I ordered Girl Scout cookies off of you and never got, maybe it was Amanda. I think it was Amanda and Rob. I don't think I paid them though. I bet they just ate them.
Yeah, they were
so
like,
I got-
whose are these?
I got this weird
Yeah.
thing about Thanksgiving, Halloween. So I never really dug getting dressed up and all that stuff. It just wasn't my bag. So, but I remember distinctly, I would have been probably 6 or 7. And we lived on this little street down in Coraopolis on School Street. And this would have been 73, 74. And we would go maybe like 6 houses up and 6 houses down with like my grandmother or aunt or my parents or somebody. But my grandmother decided to take us like 4 or 5 blocks. It was exciting. I'm going to go see the neighborhood. So we're walking, with my grandmother, and we come back that night. And my dad, I just out of the blue, must have seen something on TV or something. Like, let me see this candy before you dive in there. So we had this plastic pumpkin thing. We turned it over. And in a candy bar. Do you remember the candy bars? I think they were called marathon bars. Remember those?
No.
Yeah, I'm old. But there was a pin. Someone stuck a sewing, not a safety pin, but like a straight pin.
Shit,
And it even
really?
had the
They
little
did that?
plastic thing on the end. Shoved it in there.
Get out of here.
The police came, and I don't know if they tried to unwind where that came from, but my grandmother had to go out there and talk to them for a while. Yeah. So that really messed me up because I watched it happen. I watched my dad. They tried to hide it from me that he found that, but when the police are like standing at your front door, and they were already out anyways with the lights on for the Halloween trick, but yeah, I never forget that. And I will tell you, it messed me up. Maybe it's why I really, from that point on, never liked Halloween, period. I don't know what psychologically was going on in my head.
I think you could have bit into a needle.
But yeah. So
I remember my mom, that was the biggest thing she would always look for.
It's the early 70s.
Did your parents check your candy, or did they make you check yours before you got into it?
I don't know.
My
They probably
mom
told
always
me to,
did,
and I
yeah.
probably didn't.
I feel like towards the end, I feel like I got lazier with it the older I got. But I remember that was what she would always tell me, look for pinpricks. That was the one thing she always told me was look for pinpricks.
Razor blades were a thing too. I
remember hearing about that too.
It was Milky Ways and Three Musketeer bars, and
That's messed up.
But it was a little tiny
what a weird
hometown,
thing to do.
little
Messed
tiny
up.
town like Coraopolis in the early '70s.
What a dumb thing to do to get your jollies off.
But there was a pin
Yeah.
there, yeah, and I think it was a marathon bar. It might have been a Three Musketeer. I don't know,
But that's messed up.
But yeah, it messed me up. That's gonna be, but I've always had this default nature to take people on their word, and I've gotten burned. I got burned in my guitar business for years, taking people on their word that they'd pay me. But take the wins with the losses, right?
The oldest lie ever told. I'm good for it.
Yeah, and you learn. But I was one of those guys that I'd learn a bad lesson, but then I'd go out and make the same mistake again. I would just keep trusting. So I figured it was easier to go through life trusting, and I still kinda am not as aware of my surroundings as I probably should be all the time.
I'm kind of the same way, Eric, to be honest with you. I feel like and there's in some ways I feel like I have I don't want to say a better experience of life, but I generally I would rather be more trusting with people.
And get burned once in a while. As long as it's not going to kill me.
Kind of, yeah,
As
in a
long as
way.
it's safe.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not and see the thing though is I'm very as a woman, I'm very cautious about where I go and stuff like that.
She's
I
always
don't
looking for Kmart's.
always on the lookout, not to be behind one by myself.
See,
All right, I'm sorry.
She
I'm
wants to know
sorry.
exactly
I gotta
where
stop.
it is,
At all
so that
times.
if somebody asks, she doesn't even look. She just points. She doesn't even have to look
That's
up.
fantastic.
That way.
I have to stop.
way. Please don't.
I'm conflicted.
Because honestly, I haven't been made fun of for it in like over 20 years. So I mean,
I know it's gone too long.
I'm overdue.
I'm conflicted because two big examples for me where it worked and it didn't work was I sparked a conversation with a guy over a guitar before I really ever got in business. I was just kind of noodling. We had a great conversation. I never met the guy. He lived in Atlanta, Georgia. Didn't have any references. He called me because he saw I had a guitar for sale. I sent the guitar to him, a $2,000 guitar, sent it to him on his word, and if he liked it, he was just going to pay me. And we've been the best of friends ever since. That trust started an amazing friendship, like an amazing friendship. Conversely, I had a customer in Hawaii. He was a younger guy. He started buying a lot of guitars from me. I figured he's probably reselling them. I didn't care, right? Paying me consistently. And then he wanted a couple of them, but he could only pay for one, so I sent 3 of them out there. And he paid it. And he paid for those other 2. He built a level of trust with me. But then what happened was he started taking advantage of the circumstance where he owed me for like 10 or 12 guitars at some point. And then he wasn't paying, and then the excuse was he was having a drug problem and all this stuff, and I gave him a lot of latitude, but he stuck me for a large amount of money. And so I've had those situations where I've taken the good with the bad, and I've that's the funny thing about business in general and entrepreneurship. If you talk to someone who's been in business a while, they have probably a tapestry of like great things on the trust level and some not so great things. And the point I want to leave you with is that it really never had to do with like celebrity or how much money somebody had or didn't have. Because I tell you that the folks that struggled to find money for these instruments they loved always paid me. 9 times out. But I've had celebrities take prototypes from me, agree to work with me, take the guitar, and then when they didn't want to work with me, didn't return the instrument and wouldn't return phone calls. It would, off camera, I'll tell you some of the names, but it would blow your mind. So
I've heard that.
It really isn't specific to wealth or income level or any of that stuff. It really, the character issue, I guess in the end, like your point, I'd rather have the default mechanism for me, but I'll take the risk of getting burned within reason if I can have more good experiences. You know what I mean?
I was going to say, like, as far as like the trust issue, like when you were saying when we first started this, I was thinking more of like out in the public and things like that. Yeah. But in general, just from even having friends, like you said, that maybe had substance issues and things like that, I always make a note to never, I don't loan money. If somebody asks to borrow money, I give it to them with thinking like it's not coming back.
Right.
Or, yeah, I just always, because I remember a good friend one time, and I was having problems with another one of our friends. It was taking money, taking stuff, like just never was just a taker, but they were having issues. And my other friend had given him a lot of money, and I think she, got screwed on some other things too. And I said to her, I was like, doesn't that upset you? Doesn't that make you mad? And she's like, it's not worth the friendship. I never want to lose a friendship over money.
Ooh.
And I thought about that, and I was like, yeah, I think from now on, if I don't have it, I won't give it. But if I have it and it's worth the loan.
Can a friendship be built on theft, though?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Oh, sure. And I think, this guy ended up being, I mean, there was issues there, but he also had like a huge sense of entitlement. And honestly, it's like you said, he came from money and he was used to having things, and everything being his. And money didn't really mean enough to him that he realized he was taking it from somebody and not paying them back, and that actually put them in a spot. To him, it was just like a flowing river. I don't know, so I think, like you said, it doesn't really matter the level of income or celebrity. It sometimes money and things like that mean less to those people, and I think they don't even think about how transactional stuff is. But like I said, that really, her telling me that and her like not getting upset with him and just being like, it's not, I won't loan him money again, she said, but it's not worth the friendship. And I was kind of like, yeah, I would never want to lose somebody over money, so I guess I just won't put myself in that position.
No, I get it. I will tell you
Which
this.
it's not business, like you said.
Sure.
Your thing's business.
Well,
so
and
I
the tough thing is
understand.
when you end up mixing business with friendship too.
Well,
That's
and the
tough.
other thing is too is it's like how good of a friend is someone being to you up to that point, and like you know what I mean. Like I had lots of people steal from me.
Yeah.
And we were living a pretty different life at that time, and so I had a lot of more people in my life that kind of like were of that element anyway.
Sure.
Based on the things that I was doing, and I wasn't necessarily doing the same things they were doing, but it wasn't like what I was doing was like terribly different. But there were times that like the friendship had already kind of like worn like its welcome anyway,
right?
And then that was sort of like the final straw. And I mean, I've been pretty ruthless with people that have stolen from me before. Like,
it's a tough thing to deal with being stolen from.
Yeah, but it's just, and at the time I was a lot more. I had a lot more anger in me. You know what I mean? And like I had a lot less compassion, and there was definitely times that like like I stayed talking to someone. And then just kind of like waited till they were in a weak moment, and then just like laid into them hard.
Well, yeah, and betrayal's a sharp dagger. That's hard to take.
But that's just that those. It's like it never made me feel any better. You know what I mean? Like, and that's just the thing is like whether you're right or wrong, like getting that really good stab in on someone when they earned it. It doesn't never make you feel good. You know what I mean? Like feels good in the moment. You know what I mean? Like in that like when you have that like righteous anger and that vindictive moment, whenever you get to like really like show somebody what they've done to you and like lay it on the table like that and like see somebody kind of like fall apart because of it. Like I used to thrive on that kind of anger for sure, but like it's not the kind of person I want to be now. You know what I mean? And like
I understand.
I wouldn't put myself in that position again.
I keep thinking about too about like stereotypes. So when I got into that business, I was told right away that if you're going to sell just heavy metal guitars, expect you're going to have some issues. And I was like, man, like rock was everything to me. I'm like, what are you talking about? And it was explained to me by a guy who had been in business a long time, and telling me, well, it's income level. It's the kid in the trailer park will steal off you before a guy, and it's going to buy a $4,000 Paul Reed Smith guitar. A business person. That was his mentality. That was '98. If you would ask me the same question in 2008, 10 years later, what my experience had been, being that I had sold so many heavy metal guitars, but also had branched into upper end stuff and country. I will tell you point blank, I don't ever remember being stolen from anyone who bought a hard rock / metal themed instrument from me ever, regardless of whether it was going to a trailer park or a basement apartment in the city somewhere, or never, not one time. The country music enthusiast I had some issues with, but I really had issues with, folks that had means, on high-end pieces that thought nothing of, not returning it, just like stealing the product, not paying for it, and, being dissatisfied with the guitar and only paying half up front and never paying me the other half. I mean, not sending the instrument back as for a refund, but just not paying me for the other half of the guitar and keeping it. I mean, it was insane. So my point was, I learned right away that stereotype and character and, thievery and all that bullshit, it was just all bullshit. It was all bullshit, It was all bullshit. And I think that has helped me when understanding that I have the same compassion for every human when I interact with them, no matter, even if I'm in a bad mood. I mean, I will. Now, if someone's obviously intoxicated on crack cocaine or and they're coming up and they're confronting me on the street, I'm going to kind of avoid that because I don't think it's going to be a good outcome.
It's not going to be a normal interaction.
No, but just based on normal business and normal exchange of commerce or whatever, I have no preconceived notions that someone's going to take advantage of me. It leaves me open to being taken advantage of at times, but I'd rather maneuver that way and I don't know. I have this weird feeling that I'm a pretty good judge of character. I don't know why, because I'm probably no better than anyone else. But when I talk to somebody, I can get a feeling for whether or not they're kind of shady. You know, at least I delude myself into believing I can figure that out. I don't know.
Well, I always say too, they always say you earn respect, and I feel like everybody gets my respect, they earn my disrespect. You know, but a respect is a lot different than, you know, kissing somebody's ass that you just met, you know. So there's that too. But
but that whole it was funny. I mean, in that business, being it's retail and it's musical instruments, they, you know, your metal community, as big as that is, was looked upon so poorly by a lot of these established instrument dealers. And they tried to skew me when I came in too, but I realized not only is that a good niche for me to be in because I dig it myself, but these folks are fantastic. You know, I might not have a lot of common with all of them, but they pay, you know, and they keep coming back. So, yeah, I just learned to be I don't know. Like I said, it's not always what people think. Those who have means are not always the most honest people. You know, at least from a retail standpoint. That's been my experience. A thief is a thief is a thief. I don't know.
True.
I don't know. But I mean, in terms of trust in general, like so you think that we're just way more guarded now, generally consensus, on daily interactions.
yeah.
I must be out of sync then. I'm out of phase because something doesn't. I don't know. I don't think about being taken advantage of all the time. My wife kind of is more skeptical than me. I think she travels a lot. You know, she's on those airplanes and going different places. I think they share her guards up probably a little more than mine is. But I don't ever think about like someone like I've been pickpocketed. I can't tell you how many times because I don't ever think when I'm in a tight crowd like I didn't know who. No one's gonna pickpocket me.
That's never happened to me.
Me either.
Yeah, I've been pickpocketed at least 4, maybe 5 times in my life.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I think I learned my lesson. Now I do keep my stuff in my front pocket now, but I used to keep everything in my back pocket. And yeah.
Yeah, it's never
I've
happened
had my
to me.
phone stolen at work whenever I was at one of my jobs in the city. It was a while ago, and I remember I set it down on like it was like in one of the dining rooms, and I was like helping out, just like clearing dishes for them because like when I was at Tech and a couple other places, like it was a community center, I would help whenever people were like called off or whatever. Because even though like I had other stuff that I did for them, I still helped. I was in food service a ton still. And I had just set my phone down on one of the little countertops, walked away, I came back and it was gone. And I made a fuss about it. Like, cause I knew it was somebody in the building, you know what I mean? I knew, and it wasn't that big of a building. And I just walked around and talked about it the whole time. And then, you know, never came back to me, but still I was like, whoever stole it knew that I knew that it was stolen.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I always felt like if you steal something from someone, I don't know how anyone else feels. Like I remember whenever I was little, what did I steal? I stole something dumb. It was like, I don't know, like a sticker or something like that. Like out of like, I don't even remember what it was.
Was it from Kmart?
I did steal from Kmart later. I went to jail for stealing socks. That's a whole nother story. Did I tell that on the podcast yet?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
You went to jail
shit.
from stealing from Kmart. Socks.
No, I actually stole them from Fashion Bug, same plaza. Okay. So I'm going to tell you the story about how I went to jail for stealing
Fashion
socks. Okay, this is a good one. I've told
We
this
should
story.
open the show up with this.
I lost. Well, I didn't lose the job, but I did not get my first job in dietetics because this was still on my record and I didn't know. Okay. Retail theft. So, just as a side note, I was never the shoplifter when I was growing up. All my friends did. He would steal. My cousin Amy would steal
So
stuff.
you had no
like,
skills.
Look at her throwing me under the bus.
I'm totally throwing
I was
it.
about to say,
He would
what's the
steal
statute
he would
limitations
steal
here?
Tussin for us when we were drinking cough medicine to get high. Okay. He would steal cigarettes. He was fantastic at it.
I was a pretty good thief.
He was. I was always.
I stole that poster the one time.
Oh, yeah.
I would go in, like, I wouldn't even have a coat. Like, I'd go in the short sleeve shirt, and I'd just lean over like I was looking at something, just cram it under my armpits, and just kind of walk out with it, like, yeah. I was a brazen fucking thief.
You're professional.
He was good. And
It was mostly piddly shit.
Yeah, he
Couldn't sell
sold
it.
me this. Remember those like felt posters that you would color with markers?
Yeah.
Back before social media, guys. This is the kind of stuff that we
Blacklight?
did with our. Yeah.
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 Blacklight.
Yeah.
That was probably
Yeah.
my best caper, simply
Yeah.
because I looked at it.
Caper.
I looked at it, and it was like in a tube. You know what I mean? Plastic tube. I was like, I can just shove that right down my pants, and I did. And I was like, well, now I'm
bend your
fucking
knee.
stiff-legged. I can't bend my leg, and it's super noticeable. I'm like, shit, I'm gonna get. I had that oh shit, and I'm like, it's too. I can't try. I'm gonna get caught. You know what I mean? So I was like, you're gonna do the craziest thing ever. I'm not trying to hijack.
No, go ahead. This is a good
the
thief
theft
story too.
I was like,
This is a good one.
they're gonna notice, so you need to draw attention to this, as much attention as possible. So I went limping on up to the customer service, and I was like, hey, do you have any paper towels or any napkins or blah 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 blah? Like I've got a splint on my leg here, and it's actually starting to seep. And
Seeping wound.
yeah, like because like I said, I got this poster shoved out of my leg. My leg's like ramrod straight, you know. And he's, no, I don't. I'll call somebody right away. Oh my God! And they're all worried, and you know, of course they get on the thing. And hey, there's a guy here with something wrong with his leg. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, I act all embarrassed. You know what I mean? I was like, oh no, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to embarrass myself. I was like, I'll go out to the car and take care of it. And I just kind of limped on. You know what I mean? And I saw this manager come over, this older manager, and he's looking, and I can tell he knows. I look at him, and he looks at me, and I'm limping my way out. I can tell he fucking knows.
This was the days of
But-
Jenkos, so he had like these
Yeah.
big wide legs.
But I can see him weighing in his head, like the risk versus reward. If he shakes me down and it turns out I'm like fucking crippled
He actually
over here,
does
you
have
know
a
what I mean?
seeping wound.
And I limped my ass across the parking lot, and I was like, "Hey, I got you a poster."
Who
know
are
what?
you?
Do you know why he did that too? It was because I think we were having a fight. That was a
Batman.
makeup gift for
Are
sure.
you Batman?
That was.
I was in over my head. I bit off more than I could chew, and I was just like, "Take a bigger bite."
This is the story of most
Swallow
of
the
Jerry's
whole
life.
thing.
It worked out.
This is how he's gotten through most of his adult capers as well.
So what happened with the sock? Did you put your socks down your Jenkos?
No. No, I actually had purchased enough things in this shopping trip that I would have gotten the socks for free. This is the kicker.
She found that out
Is
later.
that I had bought like $100 worth of clothes, and they had some special going, but I wanted the thrill of stealing the socks. And so I just put them on. Like I had like tried on a bunch of stuff. I put on socks, put on underwear, put them on and left them on, you know. The lady's trying to tell me like on the way out that she knows that I stole stuff. And I'm like looking at her. I've got all my bags and stuff that I bought. I'm like, I just bought all this shit. Why would I steal your socks? I was totally like, you know, but she found the tags and, left the tags in the dressing room. Totally didn't do a good job at this. I fucked it up royally. So then what must have happened is that they must have sent like the notice for you to appear in court, because like they actually like charged me with retail theft. And I didn't go to my court date because I was probably hungover and high or something. Mm-hmm. So I'm sleeping and it's like noon and I'm sleeping on the couch in the one room and I hear like this, like, you could never mistake the constable knock on your door. It's like,
The cop knock.
Yeah, the cop knock, the constable knock. Yeah, it's not the first time I've had to answer the door and end up getting arrested or have someone else get arrested. But this time it was me. I was by myself. The cop comes in and like he actually like I didn't even answer. My door wasn't locked. This is like how I was living. Door wasn't even locked. They come in, they walk into the room, and I'm like asleep. And I sit up, and I look at him, and he's like, "Are you?" And I was not yet married, so he said my full name, my maiden name. He's like, "Are you Julia Marie Viola?" And I was like, looked at him, I'm like, uh-huh. And he's like, "Do you know why we're here?" I was like, "Is this about the socks?" And he goes, "Did you steal those socks?" And I was like, "Nope." And he's like, "Well, they're saying that you did and you didn't show up for court." I was like, "Okay, so what do we do?" I was like, "Do you want me to pay for the socks?" I was like, "What do you want?" And they're like, you're going to jail. I'm like, we're arraigning you." And I was like, "Are you serious? Over socks?" And he's like, "Yeah, you didn't show up for court." And so, like, he's telling me that he's taking me down to jail and they're going to set my bail at $100. I was like, dude, I didn't say dude, but I probably said something equally disrespectful. I was like, I have $100 right here. I was like, I will give you $100 now just to not have to do this. He's like, we can't do that. And so, like, he puts me in handcuffs, takes me out in the cop car, And he's like, do you have somebody you can call? And me and Jerry were fighting at the time, which is why he wasn't at the house. But he was the only person I could call. And so, like, I'm, trying to, like, say, I'm like, well, you can call my, he's kind of my boyfriend.
He was a couple days ago.
I think he's
back to boyfriend status.
He might, yeah, but say I'm hoping he's still my boyfriend. He's the only person that's gonna come and bail me out. And the cop called him, and like I think I was like yelling in the back of the car, and I'm like trying to like tell you where the money is because I like had it hidden because we had so many people that would steal from us that I had like cash hidden in the house. And so like they take me down to jail, they put me through processing, and the whole time. I figured out later, like, they're, like, pumping me for information. Like, because they thought I was selling drugs. So, like, they're, they're, like, collecting all these other people along the route. Like, they're all drug-related. You know what I mean? And they're, like, talking about these different cases and whatnot. They knew I had $100. And I feel maybe I must have told them I had $100. I feel like they set my bail at exactly what they knew I had. It was total bullshit. They kept me in jail all day. Like, literally, I had to go through processing, sit in the freaking holding area. This whole debacle started at like noon. Did I say that right? Debacle. I always say that wrong. Debacle. Started at noon. Jerry comes and pays my bail. They tell him what, like they said I wouldn't be out.
They were
forever.
like, she's not going to be out for at least an hour and a half. So I think I went home and waited for you to call me. And by the time I got home, she'd already been released and she didn't have a ride. I just bailed her out. Like, I don't know. We were fighting. I was just like, all right, I bailed you out. Find your way home.
No, he waited. He would have come to pick me up, but I didn't have any money. And so I didn't have any money to make a phone call. I didn't know how I was going to get home. And I'm like, and I honestly thought that he just bailed me out and left because I thought he was still mad at me because we were fighting.
They were like, it's going to take forever to process her. You might as well just go home and wait for her to call. You're going to be sitting down here.
Yeah. So I get out and and like throughout this whole, like I had like the weirdest like
Apparently
interaction.
They couldn't wait to get rid of you.
I was there all day. Like literally, I remember I had to pee in like the little holding area. There's no like actual bathroom. Like there's like a toilet and like you're in a cell with like all these other women. And that was like my biggest issue. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to pee in front of all these women. It was so embarrassing. And I remember I was sitting next to this lady, and I remember this was the first time that I realized like the difference in like race because like. I was talking to this lady and I was like, like I asked her like what her ethnicity was and like or like where her family was from or whatever, and she looked at me like I was an idiot and she's like, I'm black. And I was like, no, but like where are you from? And because I didn't know, like I didn't think all black people were from Africa, and her family was actually from Jamaica. So like I learned that day that like you can't just like assume someone is from a certain area because of the way their skin looks. And like I think I never really did because I actually did ask her. Because we were talking for like the longest time, and maybe I made a joke about being Italian. I don't know, who knows. But and it was funny because I remember like literally I'm waiting for the bus, and someone had told me that if you give them your jail bracelet, you get one free bus ride. So
and the bus driver just laughed at you.
No, that's how I got on the bus. That's how I got that. Seriously.
Really?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. You used to. I don't know if they still do that, but if you have your jail bracelet, you give it to them, you get one free bus ride. So I'm standing outside. And I'm at a bus stop, and there are, it's midnight. I'm in like town. I'm 19, and I'm like looking around. And I'm like, I can't get this jail bracelet off. They put them on you like it's plastic, like it won't just come off. They make it so that you have to cut them off. And I'm talking to this guy, and I'm just kind of like striking up conversation. I'm like, hey, so does that? I don't know. I don't anyone has scissors, but is anyone here carrying a knife? Like, can you get this off of me? So in the middle of like downtown Pittsburgh when I'm 19 years old, I hold out my wrist for a stranger. This is talk about trust. So, and this guy, like, he's like talking to me. He's like, hey, yo, man, you got a sharp thing? And he comes over, brings this like blade over, cuts it off my wrist. That's how I got home. I gave them my jail bracelet. Gave them my home.
She's resourceful. Trust.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
She's resourceful.
Got my way home.
I was like, you got your ass into this mess.
He was you came back and I was gone. You went back to the jail because you didn't hear from me because I didn't have
Either
a phone.
that or I called down there and they were like, we released her, and I was like, she's on the loose. I gotta go find her ass.
So, we're kind of suburban-ish kids. Like, we're from Westview. It's not like, I mean, it's pretty close to the city, but we weren't like,
we're suburban-ish.
Suburban-ish kids. He's like, she's out on her own. Like, I don't know where she is. So, like, I take the bus home. I come home, I get a shower. That's the first thing I do because you're just like in this cell all day. The floor is gross. I'm like sitting on the floor the whole day. And I just go back to bed, like, because my day had been kind of horrific.
Yeah.
I lay down, as soon as I lay down on the couch, Jerry comes, like, busting, and he's like, "Are you okay?" Just like, "I'm fine, I'm sorry, are you so mad at me?" And he's like, "No, I was worried." So, yeah, so then I had retail theft on my record.
For how long?
For years. This happened when I was 19. I graduated from college when I was 28 and went to get my first job in dietetics and didn't tell them about it. I was a sure thing for this job. This woman knew my grandmother. She'd worked for my grandmother, all this stuff. They run my record and retail theft comes up and she's like, "Well, you didn't tell me, so I wasn't." And I was like, "I didn't know it was there. It was from when I was 19 and I stole socks."
Wow.
And so I didn't get the job. And so then I ended up having to get a lawyer so that I could have it expunged. So
Wow.
yeah.
I didn't realize if it was I thought if it was under a certain
So
amount.
retail theft is still considered, like, at the time it is what it is. It just is what it is. So it's retail theft. And I was over 18.
But they can't. Yeah. I was surprised that they could.
I mean, now,
over a pair of socks. Like, usually if it's
so in California, if it's like less than $900, like they don't even do anything. Like the
They
police
don't
won't
even try to stop you.
No. Mm-hmm. But this was 2002 in Westview, Pennsylvania, and this woman had a freaking hard on for me because
what kind of socks were these?
They were fancy socks.
they were fancy.
They were fancy.
Were they worth going to county jail for?
No.
Why didn't you pretend like you had a limp? That would have saved you. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Pretend like you had a stint.
Yeah, or a pebble in my shoe or something.
See, I left no tags behind. You can't leave any evidence.
No, I know. I was very much a novice thief at that time, and
Yeah, you gotta have a story. You gotta have an act.
I didn't know any of that. I stole a fruit basket once for Giant Eagle and just walked right out with it. That's the best way to do it.
That is the best way to do it.
You gotta hide in plain sight.
Concealing shit. Yeah, no, concealing shit. You just walk out with something like.
Yeah, like you bought it.
I guarantee you, 9 times out of 10, no one will even ask you.
No, they didn't. And like I was with somebody and they looked at me like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "No one's gonna stop me."
You were with me.
Was I with you?
Yes.
Oh.
and you're damn right. I was like, "What the hell are you doing?" I think this was after the socks.
I know adults, and I won't say I know them well, but I know of adults in my sphere that have means that make it a game.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
To go to Giant Eagle and get more than they pay for.
Mm-hmm.
Like try to find a way to stash stuff underneath the, and get through that checkout without having the cashier find the case of pop they have down below or whatever. Or if they do self-checkout, they're like, one for me, one for them, one for me, one for them. They make it a game to do this. Yeah, it's like I am terrified to steal anything. I'm terrified. I always have been.
I used to steal a lot.
I feel
I
guilty.
was a little thief. I'm not proud of it. I was younger, but yeah. I look back now and I'm like, dude, you were a fucking thief. You were
good.
A no good motherfucker.
He was good at it. You're a better liar than me too. I'm a terrible liar.
I'd steal right in front of her. We'd be together. She wouldn't
I know.
even know. I'd just start pulling stuff out of my pocket. She's like, when did you? I was like, when we were
I'd
in line.
pick something out. Like I'd be like looking at something. He'd take it and give it to me.
There you go.
I will tell you, this is kind of a strange
riff-raff.
story. One of the first new cars I ever bought, like way back in the 80s, late 80s, it was a little Plymouth Acclaim or something like that, or a Dodge Spirit or something. And my buddy wanted to borrow it one night. He needed to borrow my car. And I happened to be working that night anyways. I really didn't care. Yeah, he could borrow it. I didn't trust him entirely. But you can borrow it. He goes, look, man, you let me borrow this car. I'll take care of you. So my assumption was he's just going to fill the gas. He's going to fill it. But he was a big weed dealer, too. So I figured, well, maybe he'll,
hook you up.
Maybe. I didn't think of it. I went to work. He came, got the car. The place closed at 11. So he drives it into the parking lot. And another car follows him. He comes and waves at me. He hops on the other car, and they take off. And as the car was coming in, something was different. I could not figure it out. And I'm looking at through a glass window out into the parking lot, my car. But something was different. I had 10 minutes to go. And so I'm looking around my car. Everything looks normal. Okay. So I'm driving home, and it's like, boy, this steering is just so easy. And it's like really just like something doesn't feels good, but it feels off. I get home, and here he borrowed my car, and then he somehow got 4 brand new wheels and rubber on my car. And they were Chrysler wheels. They were just a different style. And I asked him, what did you do to my car? I got some new rubber and wheels for your car. I went, I didn't ask you to get. He goes, I took care of you, man. I'm like, yeah, but how? And he goes, don't worry about it. And I was like, well, nothing I could do about it now anyways. But they were brand new. I don't know where they got it from. But they were brand new Chrysler
One of those things
rims.
You just don't ask questions.
I mean, it was like new tires where little pieces of rubber were sticking up, you know? It was like brand flipping new. So I guess in theory I was involved in some kind of thievery,
kind of crime.
But I couldn't do anything about it. What was I going to do? I didn't know where they were and,
right.
all that stuff. But yeah, thievery is something. I was with a guy one time late at night at his place where I think they stole a motorcycle and plopped it in a pickup truck. And
oh, jeez.
yeah.
That's a much bigger thievery than I've ever been party to.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking decades ago, but I thought that was kind of dicey.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll say. Much dicier than socks.
Did you guys have fun?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a good one. This was fun.
This was a fun one. This was a very laid back and relaxed one. But it's interesting.
A little less of the heavy.
It's interesting about that trust thing, though, because I think that we are more skeptical. And you guys kind of confirmed it. We are looking at life and people differently now, as opposed to maybe 20 years ago. One last thing. Do you remember when it used to be a thing to ask for directions in the before times, before the web and before GPS was proliferated?
Dude, when people start giving me directions now, I took my grandmother and his mom to lunch, and it's my grandpa's wife, but her friends were trying to tell me it's just, and they start getting, and I'm just like, I'm gonna put it in my GPS.
Oh, right, I know. You just tune them out
I don't know where I'm at, and
nod and smile.
And I was like,
nod and smile.
I'm still gonna okay.
Yeah, but that used to be a thing, man. I mean, getting directions was a thing.
I remember I got a TomTom GPS. It was right when I first started working in the field.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
Those things actually work?
Oh, hell, yeah.
Yeah, that was the shit.
Oh, nothing beat the one we had in Ireland.
Oh, my God.
TomTom.
That thing
and then you had to
you
had to connect it to
I'm on
your...
the wrong side of the car, wrong side of the road. And then it was showing me the directions. I don't know what the fuck was going on. It was showing me the car from the side. Instead of showing me which way I gotta go, it's showing me the car from the side.
I'm watching it on TV.
Nothing. I got no help. I was like, will you fix?
He's getting so upset. He's like, I'm like, I don't know where to go.
I swear I'd worked 34 hours in 2 fucking days. I was sick as fuck. We'd been planning this trip for 2 years. I got deathly ill. I mean, I was sick. I had a tea bag over my eye to draw some of the stuff. My eye was infected. I was hacking. My God, they must have hated me on the plane. Patient zero comes. I can't believe they let me on the plane. I had to go to a doctor over in Ireland. Literally, I had to go get antibiotics because dude, I was coughing my brains out. I thought I had fucking pneumonia. Wrong side of the car, wrong side of the road, jet lagged, fucking pneumonia, probably the first COVID case ever.
You only see out of one eye.
Yeah, exactly. Eyes, in fact, a conjunctivitis or some shit. And then this fucked up GPS is showing me the car from the side. I'm like, what could possibly be gained? How does this help me? I'm like, will you please fix this? And then
I don't know how.
We get to the spot where this fucking, I'm going this way and all the traffic's facing me at this intersection. I looked around, I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then we get all turned around, obviously. We get to a toll road. We haven't stopped by the cash place yet and exchanged any of our currency. So I'm stuck at this toll. People are backing up behind me. They're beeping and shit. I get on the intercom. I'm like, hey, sorry, I didn't mean to end up here on a toll road. We kind of got lost. I haven't exchanged any of my currency. I can't pay this thing. Oh, well, I'll be down there eventually. And I'm just like, dude, people are stacking up behind me. People are beeping. I'm in a strange country. I look over and I was like, this is like a nightmare I once had.
And
he's
sick.
he's freaking out on me, and he's going, and not on me, but he's freaking out, and he's like, Julie, this is like being on the turnpike. And he's like, imagine if we were just stopped at the turnpike, and I was just like, well, there's nothing we can do about it, so we may as well just try and relax.
You're like, lock your doors relaxed. Because people might be getting out.
I was not relaxed.
No.
I've never driven in another country like that where it's on the other side of the road and you're on the other side of the car.
I did the second time.
How long did it take you to figure that out?
The only thing I could not get used to is, I mean, you pay attention.
It helps.
It's weird being on the wrong side of the car, or the wrong side, I guess you'd say the right side of the car with the steering wheel over there, but you get used to it. What I could not get used to was when you make a right turn, you've got to look both ways because you're crossing a lane of traffic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was the big thing. Like when I would make a right turn, I would always want to get right into that right lane because it's just so automatic. But other than that,
you know what? And
plus, it's rural. That helped too. We only drove through like one city area.
Real quick, last night in downtown, I saw not one, but 2 cars going the wrong way down a one-way street on downtown.
Of course.
Saw it twice. Saw it once, and I was like, we were freaking out, and we were like, do they know they're going the wrong way? They're like coming right at us, and then they swerved the other way, and then they finally got corrected, I guess, turned down the right. And then we're driving around, and then we saw somebody else like do not in the same road, but the other car went down the wrong way, and I was like, what's going on out here? But
I've done it before.
Bunch of Irish.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's a little weird now since the pandemic, right?
Pittsburgh's a tough city to navigate anyway.
Oh yeah, but I mean, you're down there quite a bit for entertainment purposes. Are you like? Is it weird downtown now? Because I have people telling me it's different downtown now.
I mean, all the businesses are, I love the like restaurants and some of those are all changed up. Mm-hmm. I don't know because I'm definitely not down there as much as I used to be. It changed since.
You feel safe down there?
Yeah, for as untrusting and like scared as I am of everything, like with everything that goes on, it doesn't keep me from like being in a crowd or walking the street.
I think town is probably. And this is what they said. I remember like right around whenever I was like down there getting out of jail. Because I was worried and like I remember like someone at the jail said like town's one of the safest places you can be at night, and honestly like I will say like there are other parts of the city that you don't want to be at night by yourself, but like in downtown Pittsburgh, I've never really been scared to be down there by myself because I used to work down there, or I would like like when I was working and I was going to school, like I remember I took a math class on a Monday night from 5:30 to 10, and I would just get out of work, walk to the class, get on the bus, go home, and I never thought twice.
Pittsburgh's got to be like the only major city that rolls up the sidewalk at 6:30 at night.
Yeah, like no one's doing shit downtown.
Downtown, there's just nobody there. It's not like
there's
that.
There's a couple restaurants, but like it's not.
For the most part, it's fucking deserted.
Yeah, exactly.
That's weird.
It is weird.
That's weird.
Yeah, all the nightlife is like on the periphery, kind of, and so if you're like right in the city proper,
I think there's towns like that. I think LA's kind of like that.
Is
it's a bigger area, but I mean, when the business part, like I think Houston has 4 like, unless the things have changed, but they've had like 4 major like areas of buildings, all in a conjunction. But they pretty much nothing really happens in the downtown area. A couple restaurants here and there, but there's not a big like solid like New York City. There's shit going on Manhattan everywhere all the time.
Yeah,
I don't think so. In that regard, I don't think Pittsburgh's much different than a lot of other cities. Chicago's pretty happening place.
Yeah, I just got the impression that other cities there'd be something going on.
Yeah,
like
in LA, I think
6
everything's
o'clock.
Toward the ocean. But I mean, in the actual business section, the business district.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I don't think there's much going on at night. Like I had my last real job. I had a sales position where I had for pagers, right? Downtown Pittsburgh. That was my territory, and I would take my car and then park in the Steel Building, in the parking lot, and then I'd walk through the town, take the subway, and I'd sell my pagers and do that shit, and then come back to my car. But there's days I would leave a customer down in Gateway Center at like 5, 6 o'clock at night, and then have to trek up, either to the subway or walk all the way up to the Steel Building. And in the winter when it was already dark, it was a little dicey. I never felt ultimately scared, but even back like in the mid-'90s, it was kind of. There were times you knew you shouldn't have been out there. I didn't walk down. I wouldn't go down at Penn or Liberty, and I wouldn't go down there.
I think I'm thinking more like the cultural district, like that whole area, that. I feel like that's like like safe. You know what I mean? I never really.
Like, what is considered a culture? You mean like where the Benham's at? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh well. That's like Liberty Avenue, right?
Yeah.
I was on Liberty.
I was Liberty Avenue. I was a kid. Liberty Avenue was like Liberty Avenue.
And I do know what you're talking about, but like
there's a lot of Liberty going on down there.
I think a little bit like later, like like late '90s, early 2000s. Like I feel like by then it was pretty well. That part of town was cleaned up.
I was on Liberty last night, but that's because I wanted a taco, so I walked down the Condado. But
we're getting a
She
Condado.
said I was only there for tacos.
Hey,
Yeah.
Cranberry's getting a Condado.
Oh yeah.
Oh. I saw about it on Facebook.
on the Facebook.
On the Facebooks.
We're done.
You don't want to talk about tacos? Okay. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you all.
This was
Is this
fun.
300?
Yes.
Oh yeah! Congratulations. That's
Yeah,
exciting.
congrats.
Ruined my storm.
Party poppers.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Where's our confetti?
I know.
Can we throw Fritos in the floor?
He's got the papers.
You
over
can.
there.
I just threw the paper. This is show number 300, and you were all here for show 200.
Oh no way!
Remember? We were
Oh,
200
that's
too.
That's right.
Wow.
We're the benchmark
And
crew.
you'll probably
Yeah,
be
we
here
are.
for show 400.
We're the benchmark crew.
Yeah, I'm
But
glad
I want
to
to
be
thank
here.
you all. Yeah, 300. I don't think that's possible. I don't know how that's possible. But yeah, 300 times
That's crazy.
people have sat in here and talked with me about stuff.
So 300, and they're like your average like 3 hours. So 300 times 3.
Yeah, let's say average 2, because there's some that aren't
Okay.
quite that long. But that's a lot of hours.
That's a lot
That's like
of hours.
600 hours of podcasting
Yeah.
and
that's pretty cool.
production.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's. Not
But
even
ultimately, yeah, I never thought, my wife told me I would get 3 months, I'd be bored. I thought I'd get 6 months and be bored. But I'd get out of my system. And it just turned out to be something I just didn't see coming. Thank goodness. It's been crazy good. But
Hey,
this
congratulations.
show,
Congrats.
thank you.
Congratulations.
But you guys are like the reason, this group was the reason everything got validated for me. That there's something beyond just interviewing people that other people dictate need to be on podcasts. Like, what about getting good people who can have great conversations and they cross all lines? I'm going to get 3 strangers that we don't know. 2 are married, one I never met before, and invite them to have and just see how it goes. And it just went so well. And people were now, of course, they weren't tuning in to look at Jerry and I. Of course, I'm sure that helped a little bit too in the initial viewership. But ultimately, but in the end,
Optics.
the play, optics.
Eric's always talking about the optics.
Yeah, we blend in well with the lights, is what he's saying.
Yeah. But I knew like that after the second one we did that the playthrough rate was like nuts, and I just kept asking you to do them. We kept doing them, and there was something going on there. But this success helped me craft other shows. Nothing of this consequence in terms of repetition, and nothing outside of the UFO stuff that we do that I would want to do in a group setting that's repetitive. I'm not looking to do that, but it helped me put other unique people together for those 4 Friends series. It proved to me that, I was looking at the podcasting thing all wrong. I'm taking other people's ideas about who needs to be on here. Like this has to be an influencer and this person's got to be an athlete and this person. No. That's not interesting to me. I wasn't finding that I was interested in that. And this proved that, people are starving for good conversation. I mean, you would think they'd have on their own instead of watching other people do it, but that's,
It's hard to make time to just have conversations. You
Is
know
it
what I mean?
though?
Like,
Really? That's sad.
well, think about it though, because like everyone has their own schedule and their own routine, and like you've like created this as part of your routine. You know what I mean? In a way, I mean it's not routine for you, but like
Part of my routine,
You've created
yeah.
this as part of your life. You know
Yeah,
what I
but
mean?
people who like good conversation, I think it's a different experience watching other people
Yeah, I love
and their
podcasting.
ideas
Yeah.
and people that you're not connected to and that you don't
Yes.
know. It's
Mm-hmm.
witnessing that conversation unfold when you're not there to kind of color it, because every other conversation in your life you are.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah,
Good point.
That's a good point.
But what the 3 of you don't know, and I've never said to you, and I probably should have told you this before, what's really cool is the feedback that I've gotten over this 2-year period now that we've done this. I think it's been 2.5.
Yeah,
almost.
I think it's been coming up on that. Yeah.
I know it's going to be hard for you to wrap your head around this, but your characters of who you are, it really isn't a character, but you being yourself here, your personalities, people have said that they get endeared. They didn't use the word endear, but they get they become fans of you on the show in regards to the way you react. It's almost like what was there? There's a great word used by my friend Eugene. He's one of a bunch, but it's almost like people are looking forward to seeing what the next topic is and how we each are going to react to it. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
That's staying power.
That
That's
cool.
something.
Yeah.
And maybe that's how bigger shows develop, which I have no interest in, but I think that's how things like cult followings
How
happen.
things become a
but
thing.
we have a little kind of cult following for this particular series.
That's
you know
fun.
what I mean? And the people are always cool to see how we, as they understand our personalities to be, how we're going to react to all these different topics. And I thought that was really freaking cool. Then I heard it again and again and again and again, and in different words, but the same thing. And just so you know, like people are, they're really freaking paying attention to the detail and the reaction and the humor and the laughter and all that stuff.
You
So
think they're going to start to place bets on like when
They
in
might.
the podcast you throw the papers?
that or how many
45 seconds.
I know.
how many
two can beat
Oreos we've
that.
eaten. But again,
That's
this
a
is
record.
number 300, which is just insane. What is it for us? Is it the 10th?
This is 10 now. Yeah.
This is number
Wow.
10.
So it's like,
Wow.
Yeah.
Think about that. That's
That makes,
Yeah.
that makes me feel good. I'm glad people really enjoy
it's
the shows.
humbling. Yeah.
Yeah,
this is
so
very
your
cool.
personalities are, I guess what I should say, I was trying to say your personalities are resonating with people out there where they're looking forward for it to come back for more of it, which that you should feel really good about that.
That's
Whether you're trying to
amazing.
do that or not, it doesn't matter.
I
You
think
being
it's 'cause
yourself
we
is,
genuinely look forward to like all of us hanging out. You know what I mean? Like I know
we're sharing
like,
that with other people.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like because like honestly, like since we're not out at shows as much anymore, like I used to see Cassidy at like like on
Yeah.
a pretty like continual basis, like doing shows and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and like. I get to see you probably more than I see a lot of my other friends, honestly, just because of us
Probably.
doing a couple shows
Oh,
together.
been through the pandemic too.
But
all that.
like, I mean, he and I live together, so we look forward to seeing each other
See each other sometimes
once in a while.
at the house.
once in a while.
I just want you to know that your personalities, which is great to me, is that really coming through and connecting with people because they're looking forward to like. Because the comments are like, I can't. It was funny when Jerry did this, and they're using your first names in like the emails. When they're starting to use your first names throughout these emails, that's something, man.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Really
and we have we absolutely have the longest playthrough, even more than a UFO show. We have a longer playthrough.
Don't tell James.
No, but think about how impressive that is. Because the UFO thing is a theme, right? With like events we're talking about and real specific content with commentary.
Yeah.
So you would think that would almost have like the longest playthrough, but our shows have a little more playthrough than that even, which that says something. People are dialing in and connecting and staying. And that's the thing that blows me away. So,
That for real makes me feel good. You guys
Yeah.
are awesome.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
thank you. And we'll do it again.
Yep. Sounds
Friends, 300, and we're on our way to 4. Next thing you know, it'll be 500 shows. At 500, we'll have to have a talk. We might need to get syndicated.
Fireworks.
It's a lot of work, man.
Fireworks.
500 shows. I mean, fireworks. Yeah, right in here. By then,
Confetti.
good. Yeah.
if you're going to sweep it up afterwards, I'm all for that. Thank y'all. All right,
Thank
we'll do it again.
All right.
Friends, we are out.
Out.
Oot.